Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Richard Lewis Show. I'm Richard Lewis. Sam is in the background, but he is not going to be the person I am bouncing my crazy ideas off today. It is going to be Launders. You might know him. He's a Counter-Strike commentator, analyst, all-round gangster. Just a legend, not literally. A legend, somebody that's created content. And I got to say as well, most recently, incredibly polished content. Unfortunately, finds himself in the position of being laid off from Yahoo. So thanks very much for coming on the show, Launders. And I guess that's where we're going to start, brother. You recently had sort of the disappointment of being told that your services weren't going to be required by this big sort of conglomerate that had just been bought out for millions of dollars. Things were looking good at maybe from the outside. And then you just took the plunge, just made the commitment. You moved down to, it was California, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. LA.
And yeah, LA, one of the most expensive places in the world.
Yeah, that didn't change after I left.
Yeah, and you find yourself kind of just down there with the wheels spinning. So let's just talk a little bit about your current situation, and then we'll kind of work backwards from there. How are things going at the moment?
It's going pretty good. I think I am more fortunate than others because I think at Yahoo, only me and Travis had like a personal brand to fall back on, which is something I made a video about recently, just the importance of being able to have a YouTube channel to upload to, be able to like work without having to rely on a full-time opportunity. And because of that, I have the ability now to like sell videos or go do freelance content, but then have a base income to fall back on to help me out with, the fact that rent is so expensive out here. But I have lined up a lot of opportunities. Like at this point, I can't even accept anything moving into September just because I'm so busy. So it's been a good transition out, and I'm more hoping that everyone else at Yahoo is kind of in the same spot.
Yeah, so I saw that video talking about a personal brand. I mean, I agreed with a lot of it, and we'll talk about a lot of the points in the video. But I mean, first thing though, and I've been in this position. Personal brands are great, right? Like you should definitely have one. But as you said, and as you alluded to there, they're almost like the fallback plan. Like going independent, trying to go it alone, you got to have a really big brand, a brand that you can market and monetize. And if you don't have that, it's tough. And you were in a fortunate position of kind of being brought into the fold for like the big company, and it was the first time you'd really worked for a big company kind of full time, right?
Yeah, so when I grew up, I've worked every job in the book. Like I've been a butcher, a telemarketer, worked at McDonald's, tons of retail experience and stuff like that. And I've always hated. What's that?
You were a butcher?
Yeah, I was a butcher for 2 years. Like it was an awful job. It was like a weekend job at a market in Toronto where I would have to wake up at like 4 a.m., get there by 6, deal with cold meat all through the morning in the middle of a Toronto winter, and then up until like 8 o'clock at night, and then close the shop up, go home smelling like meat, get followed by dogs, and then have to take the TTC back home. It was awful. But I've done all these kinds of jobs, right? I've worked for people in the worst conditions, and so. But after I started my YouTube channel and stuff like that, I realized like I just want to be my own boss. So I did that for 3 years, and I was extremely hesitant to go to Yahoo in the first place. Like they were following me around to events basically where they had a guy who was doing the CSGO content, even though he was like a Blizzard guy, and they were like stepping on my interviews and asking. I think it was like the Fallen interview I did at MLG. At the MLG major, where one of the producers asked to sit on the interview, and they're like, "Hey, great interview." After I didn't even know who he was, and then following that, I think it was like DreamHack Austin, where they were like, "Listen, I need you to come do the CS:GO stuff for me," and I was like, "How much you make?" And then I asked for my salary based on that, and even when it got accepted, I still was like hesitant to go. I was like, "I'm gonna be giving up my whole brand. People are gonna feel like I'm a traitor." I had like a lot of that to balance, where a lot of the reason why, or I guess a lot of the clout in the scene that I had was because I was doing this all by myself. So I had to consider what the reaction to it would be. And, to go full time was in my mind almost like selling out. But after getting to Yahoo, it was an amazing experience. Like, as well as I do, working for a company this big can just provide you so many resources, so much access, the ability to talk to players whenever you want, who at this point with everyone traveling and in these big contracts, it's hard to get a hold of them if you need them. So Yahoo gave me a lot of that. And I have absolutely no regrets about going there. Those 3 months that I worked, we got so much content done. I was also, because I was forced to, wake up 8:30, go into work, even though it was a nice place to work, just staying on that consistent schedule, improved my work ethic a lot, and obviously made some of the best videos that I've ever done.
Yeah, the production value really ramped up. But I mean, there is a downside to working for a big company. I can kind of relate. I remember going way back, I had when the ESPN editor's job came up, and I interviewed over there. This is before I even accepted the Turner job, and there was a few things that were kind of intimated, right? And it was like, maybe we get an intern to run your Twitter because we've seen some of the tweets that you make, and we don't really like them, and this is a Disney company,
Yeah.
And it's kind of surreal. Like, I've had job interviews with these big companies, and they'll say, like, this is the job interview. They don't ask you a question about your skill set. They say, on May 14th, 2015, you told somebody to drink bleach. Do you... No, this is true. This shit happened to me. Do you think telling people to drink bleach is appropriate? Like, and you're like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, what are we here to talk about? Yes, in the past, I have done things that the great corporate entity might not approve of. You know what I mean? But yeah, back then. But did you have anything like that? Because like one of the things I've always liked about you is you do fucking keep it real. So I mean, when you were interviewed for the Yahoo job, did anything come up out of the past? Did they dredge anything up?
So I think like the first day I went to work, I was feeling pretty good. Just moved out to California, got all my shit moved in, finally got my new apartment. I was like showing off my keys and stuff. And then I remember I was feeling great. So I tweeted out, "Good morning, fuckboys." And I got to work, and, Travis is just like taken aback because he's like, a League of Legends interviewer. Yeah. That scene is pretty soft. So they're not used to. I mean, I didn't even think it was a bad thing or I would get any flack for it. But, I was every day I thought I was going to get fired. I'm going to be honest. Like all the shit I just normally say for fun, that's not even offensive. It's just like shit I'm saying because I feel happy. It's like it's under a microscope, really, when you work for a company that big. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not wrong as well, dude, about like the fucking League of Legends. Like, it's not just League of Legends now. Like, I am so fucking grateful that Valve exists, and not just because obviously Counter-Strike is my first love, but like people don't know this. Like low key, I do play Dota and stuff. Like, and I think it's a well-made game. The only thing that's ever really stopped me engaging with it is just the community are just mental. Like they're just too crazy for me. But they don't really fuck with the whole let's sanitize and clean everything up. I just come off a run with Street Fighter, and I was like, great, fighting games, thuggery, the shit that I'm into, right? Like, because esports for me will always be like, you can blow it up, you can put it in a stadium, but esports for me starts with the fucking a shitty TV or a monitor and two people this close shit talking each other because they want to be better at a game. That's esports in a nutshell. And I think the further you get from that ethos, the further you get from the heart of what makes esports great, right?
Yeah.
But when I was doing the fighting game shit, all these weird motherfuckers were like crawling out the woodwork going, "We mustn't have Richard Lewis associated with our game. I believe he voted for Donald Trump," and just shit like this. Like, he is evil. Like, I'm like, what the fuck are we all talking about here? Like, why is it this way? And unfortunately, as corporations have come into esports, I mean, a lot of them, that's what they think esports is. They think esports should be this sanitary, clean, buttoned up, bullshit. And that's not what esports is to me. So, I mean, like, you're right. Like, we're super lucky in Counter-Strike because we get to fucking say what we want pretty much, and no one gives a fuck. Like, you're never going to get a phone call from Valve, telling you're no longer welcome in the entire ecosystem of a game because of something you said. Whereas that's a reality when you're talking about Riot and League of Legends.
Yeah, and the other line is that it's not always shock factor that these people feel like we're going for. We're just being transparent sometimes, and sometimes that is shocking, but they're not mutually exclusive, right? And like, for example, one of the biggest personalities in League of Legends is Doublelift, and he just says exactly what's on his mind at all times, and he gets into trouble for it all the time. And I can only imagine how much pressure it is on him when he goes into an interview to like not say something stupid because of the threshold for the community. Whereas for us, we can just say whatever we want. But yeah, I think there needs to be the difference drawn with what's shocking for the sake of being shocking, what's just straight up honesty that's just a little bit fun. Like some things need to be said.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So what's it like? I mean, like, do you feel, even though you're only at Yahoo for a short time, like, do you feel, I don't want to use the term evolved. I always think when you use the word evolved, it suggests you're going from something into a better form of it, right? So I'm not saying that, but I mean, have you changed? Have you adapted a little bit now that you've had a taste, albeit very brief, of kind of the corporate lifestyle in esports?
Yeah, that was a big thing. So, for everybody who hasn't done it before, one of the major benefits of working for a corporation is that they're going to pay you a salary, and it's probably going to be pretty good. But on top of that, you're going to get a lot of benefits and stuff that you would have to pay for out of your own pocket if you were a freelancer. They'll also help you out with things like a 401k, which is a benefit that a lot of companies offer, where they'll just give you money, but it's not money that goes directly to you. And it's because it costs them less to spend that money on benefits and so on. And so there's so many great things about that. I get to go into work in the morning. We had our own cafeteria, and we would have like catered lunch and breakfast every single day. It kept me really healthy. It kept me motivated. There was no dental care on site. There was a gym. There's a lot of great things that working for a corporation brings. And as long as and what I think I realize is that a job is just all about the people. It's like, if you work with good people, it doesn't matter where you are, to be honest. So, I mean, I encourage anybody who works in esports, if they get an opportunity to work for a company as like Turner or Yahoo that have really good standards, to take that opportunity. I don't know if you'd say the same.
What was it like fitting in with the team? Because I've been in a lot of teams at different kind of stages in my career with very different people, and it is interesting. Like, depending on how, like, some teams, they have this whole expectation where it's like, gather around everybody, and you'll have your meetings typically online if you're working for a website, and you all sit there every day and you have your daily briefing. We used to do that at the Daily Dot, but it was okay because, like, Kevin Morris is a fucking baller, so it was good fun. And in the end, he started excusing me from the meetings because I was like, "Look, dude, I've been up all night looking at betting patterns. I think I buy power through a game. Can we just, can we just fucking leave the meeting today?" Yeah. And then other times it's been like you're just alone, and you've got guys that you can hang out with, and they're kind of in the same boat as you, but you never really see them. So what was that like? Because I've always seen you as a bit of a lone wolf,
Yeah, I was getting to the point at Yahoo where we had so many League of Legends talents that it was like two writers, one editor who did League of Legends just editing, and then Travis. And so, like, there's a lot of focus on League of Legends, and nobody really did tell me how to do my job best. And one of the stipulations I had coming into Yahoo was that you're going to let me do whatever I want, because I know how to do my content the best, and I'm not coming otherwise, because I'm already really worried about coming in and then having my freedom stripped from me and then having to do content a certain way. But yeah, all those freedoms were given to me. Like, when I walked in the office, it was like I would sit down. My producer, Luke, who I did everything with, basically we teamed up. Like, you were just talking about how I listen to trap music like he did too. So we hit it off right off the bat. And it was like, I would come up with an idea. He'd be like, we can shoot this. And then we'd go do it. And we didn't have to report to anybody. It was getting to the point where I wasn't invited to any meetings, actually, where they had like an editorial meeting and then like a producer meeting, and I was neither, where I was just like a CSGO video guy, and every other talent in the building fell into one of those two categories. So I was really a lone wolf kind of at Yahoo, like just me and Luke just going off doing our own edgy CSGO content.
Yeah, I got to be honest, man. I don't know if it's the company I keep these days. Like, I can't hear trap music without laughing at myself.
It's bad. I mean, I just don't listen for lyrics anymore. Like, I just don't believe anyone has anything good to say. So it's all about.
So I mean, all things told, you're in LA still. I mean, are you gonna stay there? Because I mean, You got any options down there? Do you want to stay in LA? Because I mean that is gonna fucking eat into the costs of the YouTube money, and me and Sam know that all too fucking well at the moment.
Yeah, you cannot rely on YouTube ad revenue. Yeah, it's so just to be very transparent, my visa with Yahoo expires halfway through September. And then so leading up to Yahoo, leading up to us losing our jobs at Yahoo, I decided that just in case I was going to apply for a green card. So now, I blew a ton of money applying for the green card. I'm in the application process, and I learned that as long as you're in the process, you're able to stay. So even if it got rejected, I feel like I thought it would at least buy me time just in case. But now I'm still floating around in the process somewhere. Hopefully that gets accepted. If not, I could move back to Toronto. But I feel like I have this thing where I feel like I just got here. I'm not done. And there's so many opportunities out here. And as much as I miss my friends and my whole life that I left in Toronto, going back would just be like taking a step back. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try my best to stay out here pretty much.
I keep saying this every time I see Twitch guys, because obviously we do swim in similar circles. Like if I get hold of like any senior Twitch guy, I'll pull him at one side. Usually when I've got like 5 or 6 beers in me, and I'll be like, "Why the fuck haven't you made Twitch news yet? Why haven't you took a portion of the budget that you have, the sizable Amazon money, and why don't you do what everyone else keeps trying and failing at doing, and that is build a fucking news network with a studio, and you get all the guys on retainer." And I ain't just talking about fucking esports guys. You got people like Philly fucking D wants to start his own news network, is down the road of doing that. You could reach out, you could get all of these guys, bring them in, original programming, original broadcasting, doing investigative pieces, doing documentary pieces, and if you think about like how shit like On Gamers sunk, like, I don't even want to fucking think about it, like tens of millions of dollars probably into a fucking failed project, and like Yahoo are the latest ones, and people, because you've got to build something to be able to monetize it in news, right? And it's like I say, it's a 5-year plan. You gotta be able to just lose money for 5 years. And then just know that the content's going to be so good that you'll get by just longevity, just by lasting, you're going to get all the people in, right? And monetize it and get the advertising sponsors, because you'll be the last man standing and you'll have all the best people and the best content.
Exactly.
Right?
I have a point to that. So
yeah, go.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like I think that's what a lot of big companies don't understand right now is just that. Or maybe they're just not interested. Like with Yahoo, it was a merger that crushed Yahoo Esports, and a lot of the sports guys got let go as well. And it was a no hard feeling situation where we're so far removed from the people that got rid of us that it was clearly just a numbers game, where a lot of people feel like it was because our content was failing. No, we were starting to get to the point where we had the best people in every game. It's just that we weren't getting the numbers, but it's the amount of runway that you have that's really important, because as you said, as long as you're the last man standing, then you are not monopolizing the situation, but having the majority stake at least. So, if we had more time, that would have been great. But I feel like my biggest fear moving into another job opportunity is will this company disappear, because nobody's handing out runway. Everyone's really worried about how what the plan is to monetize esports content for like the next few years, and news, as you're saying. But I feel like with Twitch, maybe one of their concerns is just like what. I don't know. I actually reached out to Twitch, I think last year, I asked them, because I was like, I want to I was with Yahoo talking to them, and I was like looking at my other options at this point, and I was like, I really like Twitch a lot. I like Amazon a lot. Would you guys be willing to have like some kind of like offline bot system where I could upload content and you'd be able to promote it? And they were like, we're just not there yet. And we have like this esports budget, but we don't even know how to spend it properly. So I think they might just be scared.
Yeah, this is the thing. I know they got the money there, but again, it's about having that like creative vision. And the reason why I think Twitch is a good option for it, I talked to some like big YouTubers about this, and I mentioned it to them. There is a thirst for like good long form podcast content that caters to our particular generation. Like I get it all the time. Like people say, your videos are too long or whatever. And it's like, look, I don't want to make 6-minute jump cuts fast-talking YouTube videos. I think they're fucking garbage. I think the jump cut is the laziest form of editing. Understand, I'm a fucking...
I 100% fucking agree with you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and I know you're into this shit as well. I think when you're making, like, content and you deliberately assume your audience doesn't have an attention span and doesn't want long-form fucking content and all, I don't want those people in my audience, honestly. Like, if you can't listen to what I got to say for 30 minutes, like, fuck off. Like, honestly, for real. And I hate the entitled sense where it's like, oh, what's the TLDR or the TLDW? It's like, look, why the fuck should my content have to cater around the fact you don't have time in your day? I'll make the content I want to make. You either make time or you fucking don't. That's our relationship as creator to, consumer. That's it, right? And I see, like, say, I see these videos. And the sad thing is when you see people who made good long form content and they fucking switch. And they go, oh, well, I talked to other YouTubers and they said my content would get way more hits if I did it this way. And it's just this generic, everything's the fucking same, right? Like, you go on YouTube, it's all the same content. It all conforms to the same archetypes. Now, I'm not saying I can't improve the production value. We bought a lighting rig. I should probably get a fucking backdrop so we're not looking at the same, 15, 20 graphic novels, actually have some interesting shit in the background, get some fucking furniture in this room, and get a proper camera. We can do all that, right? But at the end of the day, the content, is going to be what it is, and it's this. And so anyway, I reached out to a bunch of these, YouTubers who were getting fucked by YouTube, politics kicking in hardcore over there. People's videos getting censored, demonetized, the adpocalypse because of the Wall Street Journal, all this fucking bullshit. And meanwhile, Twitch has remained pretty firm. And Polygon tried to get Twitch to to budge. They didn't. Polygon started writing hit pieces about, but what if the Nazi PewDiePie goes to Twitch? And will Twitch do anything? We reached out to Twitch for comment. These days, when a journalist at one of these publications says we reached out for comment, they meant we lodged a complaint on your behalf. That's what they mean. So anyway, Twitch have remained firm on that. And up until recently, where I saw they did advertise Feminist Frequencies rap party, which terrifies me.
Is it Feminist Frequencies?
Yeah, because Anita Sarkeesian finally finished the fucking video she'd been promising for 5 fucking years or whatever it is. So Twitch tweeted out saying, "Hey, come celebrate the rap party." Like, nah, you're all right. Like, I don't want to celebrate somebody who fucking took a bunch of money on false pretenses, took forever to finish what is being stood in front of a green screen, cherry picking examples of sexism from video games. I don't want to celebrate that, actually, and I don't think most of your audience do, but whatever. So generally Twitch are good politically. So I said, Twitch don't get involved, Twitch don't fuck with your shit. You should do podcasts out there. And I think we're starting to see a rise of that. And if Twitch could just have some budget for original programming, I think we get some fucking amazing content.
Yeah, hell yeah. I think one of the big draws of, and I'm not that business savvy, but I'd say one of the big draws of TV right now is original programming. Like, the only thing that's separating me from switching from Netflix to Amazon Video is how much original content they put out, because all the rest of the stuff I can get somewhere else, that they're just selling everywhere. So original content for sure. And
I've been saying I'd like to see a Netflix type thing for esports. Maybe get a few tournament organizers to buy into it, maybe a revenue share, and they give their VODs over. But then whoever curates that stuff, because this is interesting. I don't know how you feel about it. I did promise I'd mention it because I'm friends with Michelle Morrow, and she's done a few things, and they've done this trailer called they're going to do a YouTube Red series, and it's about esports, right? Now, I won't lie, because I won't insult her intelligence. But the trailer definitely looks a little bit cheesy, but no more than say the Big Bang Theory is kind of cheesy in the sense how it panders to nerd culture. Here, I'll put it in the chat. You can watch this if you want, Launders, and tell me what you think about it. Just while we're talking about original content, right? And Sam, do you want to play this for the people?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
All right, so just. Like I say, I'm I'm reserving judgment on it because Michelle's like a good writer and she was involved with this. And she said we're finally doing some original programming around esports. This is what it's going to look like. So you have a watch. Sam will play it for everyone. We can make
3, 2, 1. We'll all watch it together.
Yeah, come on. We'll all watch it together.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
That's technology for you right there.
It draws more viewers than the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, and the World Series combined.
What do you think when I say the word esports?
Oh no.
He was in a bar, the volume is muted, and you're trying to say esports.
Yeah, I am. Dude, Rylan, they have
See,
tournaments,
that's one of the jokes. Sam.
You can win $1 million. I'm doing this.
I support you.
The old he can't read joke, my
Are you guys with
favorite.
the micro penis support group?
What?
Kid, we lied to your mom. We have average-sized penises, and we're starting a kill core team. You down? We're gonna have a shot at blood match. We're gonna have to do a lot better than that. I want to hear those fingers moving.
I feel like I'm just hitting buttons randomly.
This is going to be the greatest esports story ever told. And not just because stories about esports are inherently inaccessible and unappealing.
Yay. I used to be better than you, and you hated me for it.
I'm not gonna apologize for my success or dating a model.
Yeah, well, she's a catalog model.
Holy crap, Rylan, when did you get so good?
Yeah, how about that MVP Sam?
We're good. We have a shot.
I'm like the king of Kong!
This is it, folks. Our first ever blood match.
His team is a bunch of soulless
They should have
robots.
definitely got me on this.
What did
though.
Rocky do to the robot?
I'd have
Rocky
started
never
this.
fought a
I'd have
robot.
taken
Yeah.
money.
There was a
yeah.
robot. It was his
No,
mom.
that's. I
Sure
think that's
about
the thing.
that?
Like
Yeah,
we
it's Rocky
need,
IV.
you
Alright, cards
need
on the
someone
table.
like
I've never
you
seen
for
it.
something like this. Like they need to be pulling someone completely authentic to lead the content direction.
So anyway,
Because when I watch this, it's like it's very unrelatable, right? Like this is not my esports experience. I don't know anybody that looks like this in esports, and I've never experienced the same emotions as these guys when they were playing video games, you know? So yeah. So like I wonder.
So go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I wonder what people feel like. I wonder if this is what people feel like who are in under other industries, like in the NBA or the NFL, when they see some like sensationalist piece of like video that is describing their experience from the perspective of a writer from the outside, and then the actors that are directed to be a certain way that are just emulated an experience that they've never been a part of. That's what I wonder is like this what happens in every industry where you get content like this at first and then it slowly gets more and more authentic, or is this just unacceptable?
Yeah, I mean it's really weird, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, when they make basketball movies, I like forget the documentary Hoop Dreams, which is fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, forget that, right? I mean, that's the definitive look at the kind of sports machine in America, you know, in my opinion. But you know, let's look at like, I don't know, He Got Game with Denzel, right? Something like that. You know, they don't necessarily sanitize everything in the way I think we feel we have to. Like me and you've been to the LAN events where it's small, it's grimy, you know, people get in each other's face. Sometimes people are pushing, shoving, punches get thrown, you know,
Water
harsh
bottles
words.
across the room.
Yeah, water bottles across the room. You know, yeah, there's yeah, you know, I mean, like, to be fair, there was a bong on the table in the fucking scene. I guess weed's okay though these days. Yeah. But you know, like the esports I grew up with is probably similar to your experience. Is that it was just regular guys coming into something to escape like really shit jobs. Yeah. You know, a lot of them were like hard drinkers, you know, party animals, you know, drugs flying around at these events. Mm-hmm. You know, like, yeah, it was almost like a blue, like, not, I don't want to say blue collar pursuit, but there was a lot more blue collar people involved when I was coming through.
Yeah, it was like all fucking volunteers and shit. Like I remember the first event that I went to was LAN ETS. So I was like started my YouTube channel October 2013, and then by around January I was like, what else can I do in esports to like get in early, because I knew Counter-Strike was going to blow up after that Arms deal update. And someone pointed me to a thread that Sadokist made on ESEA, and it said looking for a caster for LAN ETS. And it was a volunteer position. It didn't mention anything about money, but everybody was like climbing over each other to get volunteer positions to go cast something, because no one was expecting to be able to get paid in esports period, but people just loved casting. So I was like I made a YouTube video of me casting a game. It was like the worst fucking cast you've ever heard. Like if you remember how bad I was, like even 2 years ago, this is 10 times worse. And Sadokiss was like, yeah, you're pretty shit caster, but you got a good voice, so maybe we can work on this. And then I was like, all right, I'll take it. And I had to pay my own way out, get on a fucking mega bus to go up to Montreal in February, which is one of the coldest places in the fucking universe. And then we were there. I had not even to a LAN event ever, completely intimidated. You know, Sadokiss wasn't a big shot yet, but he had been casting ESEA, so he was a star to me. And we were casting from like, we would wake up, and you know, LAN events, how poorly they were run. Like your I-Series events, I can only imagine. Dude, it was like lower bracket, best of 3 double elimination games, like for all day long with like people who brought their own computers. So of course there's going to be problems. We were casting from 8:30 in the morning, and then our day was supposed to end at 10 o'clock, which is late enough, but it would end up ending at like 4 o'clock. We'd have to wake up again at 8:30. I remember we weren't offered a hotel, so we had to sleep on the classroom floor at the LAN ATS. Sadokiss didn't. I packed a pillow. Sadokiss didn't have anything, so I gave him my pants to sleep on. And we didn't take a shower. We didn't shower for 3 days. Woke up in the morning, casted all day fucking long, and it was best of 3, best of 3, best of 3. And you know, that's what esports was like. I didn't see any of that in that video.
Yeah, and that's not ancient history, right? That's like what, 2 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah.
3 years ago, yeah.
Just
I mean, this is what I mean. Like, I think, you know, because this ties in with what we were talking about earlier. It's like as if I plan this shit out roughly. You know, the corporations are coming in. That's good, right? I'm down. I'm down for that. I'm down for the money. I'm down for the resources.
Oh,
yeah, I love all that shit. I'm down for reaching a new audience. That's all great. But it is weird, isn't it? There's this contrivance that esports has always been this way. Like, wow, this thing's been going on in the shadows and we didn't know about it, and now we've discovered it, and look how fucking amazing it is. No, we built this shit. We fucking built this shit. We tried to tell you about this shit 10 years ago, and you didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
We built this. Blood, sweat, and fucking tears, and now it gets more viewers than the Super Bowl or whatever the fuck. But you know, where were you guys when you're shivering on a fucking floor, sleeping with no pants on because you got to give your pants to your co-caster because he ain't got a fucking pillow, huddled together for fucking warmth? You know, where were these guys then? And this is what I mean. I want esports to be accurately represented because I think it's super important to understand where we came from and how we got here. You know, I hate all these idiots who think, yes, esports was created in 2009 by Riot Games when they invented a little free-to-play game called League of Legends. Like that, there'd been nothing before that. There was nothing in 98, 99. You know, just it's nonsense. And this revisionism is really fucking dangerous, dude. Like, if we lose that. And you're seeing this with all this VC coming in. Esports is just going to be a rich boy's toy. You know, like maybe you're not a sheikh, right? Maybe you're not like an Emirati and you can't buy a football club, right? But you know, hey, 10 million, 20 million, I can buy a fucking esports brand and play with it for a while, and I get to be an owner now. And yeah, I think I'm worried that it's going to become this like super sanitized means to make money by appealing to a demographic that these people couldn't get before. And I don't.
Yeah, I guess the big thing is, and you know, people are open to make whatever kinds of content they want. And I think you know, somewhere down the line, it makes sense to have like people playing now, or maybe middle-class kids that can get DX racers and have great setups, and LAN events are way more accessible and so on. But that's just not telling the whole story. And like to start in the middle of everything, it just seems a little weird to me.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it is good to get back to the original point why we showed that trailer. It is good, I think, that people are trying to make original content around esports. I've said it for ages. You know, it's a scene that's ripe for comedy. I'm sure you've met like people like no one else in esports. Like I have met some of the like funniest, you know, I've met some of the most mentally ill like people, like people who are just so far out there it's hard to believe they're real. Sam, for example. You know, esports has got some fucking characters in it. With that in mind, you don't have to name names, but who is the craziest esports character you think you've met? I mean, again, you can give them a random name. Just tell us a story about them.
A story about them. I think I was gonna say Hooch. I was gonna say Hooch just because we both, you told me a story about Hooch where you were at Disneyland, which we won't go into details, but within 2 minutes of talking to him, just a very open guy. I can't
love that motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't know how. So when I came to Yahoo, I guess I was the tame one out of the CS:GO audience. Like, I didn't even feel like I was saying things that were out of line when I was writing my tweets and stuff like that. But to everybody in League of Legends, I was this crazy motherfucker who who had no filter or whatever. But I don't know how you tell some of the stories you tell, because I could, but I don't feel comfortable doing it.
I know we're all fucked now. That's what I mean. Like, we're even self-filtering. I'll give you a bridge version of the Hooch story. I'll leave out some of the juicier details. Okay. But anyway, this was in like 2010, 2011. ESWC had been bought by. It was like a failing brand, and it had gone into liquidation. And some French venture capital company that was funded by a bank had bought the brand, and they ran 2 back-to-back events before realizing, like, holy shit, there's just and it became what it is now, which is just garbage. So anyway, they went all out for this like big relaunch, and they had all the great 1.6 teams there for the Counter-Strike tournament, and it was in Disneyland Paris. And it was a fucking mega heat wave. It was in the middle of summer. It was the hottest day on record, I think, in France for 50 years. It was so hot, right? They had these, like Haribo sweets?
Yeah.
You know Haribos, right? Good. Well, the stalls. They had these stalls where it's like the big plastic containers, and you scoop them out, and you're like, here's a Haribo, or, in a French accent or whatever. So, the French are terrible at customer service. So it is like, it is your Haribo. Go away. Like that, right? So that's a terrible accent as well.
Very, very dismissive. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how they be. So anyway, the Haribo fucking melted. It was that hot. They congealed into like these big things, and like there was one guy who was just carving off Haribo slices and like selling them for €1, like big rubbery slices of Haribo. The Xbox tournament for like FIFA and everything, as soon as you try to turn on an Xbox, it would just red circle of death and peace the fuck out. People were outside getting sprayed with water to like not pass out. It was unbearably fucking hot. So we were out there, and it was like a fucking summer holiday. Like, I'm just walking around, sleeveless t-shirt, sipping a beer, and everyone was like, "Oh, are you the journalist Richard Lewis?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And they'd be like, I was just expecting something totally different. I'm like, no, this is it. This is what you get. I'm just treating this like a holiday. Fuck it. And they spent so much money on the players and the press to try and impress us, right? Thinking we give them good write-ups and good reviews. So on the last night, they hired the whole of Disneyland for a private party for the players and the press. And, we were there. I was like beard up, and we're like on the Aerosmith ride, and talk is cheap. Shut up. Like, done that like 50 fucking times, like smashed out my mind. And they had Bob Sinclair doing like a late night party, like a set for us all, right? And so I'm out there, like I'm drinking, and I'm thinking, like, this is ridiculous. You can't have Bob Sinclair comes out and it's like lights and stuff, and it's a bunch of fucking nerds. It's a bunch of nerds. Nothing's going on. I'm just sat there sipping a beer, like, and fucking nobody's dancing or anything. And then into the dance floor comes one guy doing the shittest dancing I've ever seen, like proper, like. Doing it like this, like dad at a wedding, wrecked out of his mind, and it's Hooch.
Yeah.
It's only
my man
doing this, like, and he started an entire party. Like, as soon as he was out there, everyone was like, "Do you know what? It can't be as bad as that." So everyone just joined in, and he kind of made the whole night. Hooch was the catalyst. Yeah. So yeah, absolute fucking legend.
Yeah, and Hooch is much cooler than that, obviously. But he did what he had to do. You know what he had to do.
I made him sound a little bit lame there, but like what Hooch was doing was showing that if you don't give a fuck and just have a good time, you can make the best of ridiculous situations.
So I'm gonna say, okay, so I was just at DreamHack Atlanta, which I guess you were actually there too. Like, I think doing it. Some people were telling me you were around the venue or something. I didn't get to see you, but we had the after party, the infamous Twitch after party at DreamHack Atlanta, and there are some guys who came into esports pretty recently, and I think a lot of, even though we have a lot of cool people in esports, there are definitely some people that can't hold their liquor, right? Yeah. And there's a player on Misfits, Amanek, who was at this Twitch after party, and I remember him walking around, and we had like Disco Doplin and it was Disco Doplin and like Pronax or something. Amanek was like squirming around people at the after party, like looking at them, and they kept going like this to him, like no, like they had already dealt with him before, and he was just way too drunk for their attention. And then I just see him, we have those breakdance circles that pop up in the middle of the dance floor. Yeah, so there's like 15, 20 people in a circle, a couple nasty dancers in the middle, and then all of a sudden Amanek runs in with Snapchat open, screams at the top of his lungs, ah, and like does a 360 with his Snapchat. And records everyone in the audience and then runs out. And that was him for pretty much the whole night.
The most drunk shit, the most fucked up shit I ever saw at an after party, and I can't remember who it was. Sam might know, but it was in that barn they have at DreamHack sometime. Do you know which one I mean? The cabin in the woods.
In DreamHack Summer, it's literally just like a farm barn.
Oh, the fucking barn, dude. Yeah. Last time I was there, it was like 2 a.m. The sun starts coming up, which is the first thing that blows my mind. And someone calls the police on the barn because they were apparently serving alcohol to minors, quote unquote. And all the Twitch staff were running around trying to figure out who was the one who. And they had an idea of who did it, but we were all outside the barn. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I wasn't going to be the police arriving. There was some big popular Twitch streamer, and I can't remember which one. I probably wouldn't say if I could. But anyway, we were like, I was at the bar, like bar's like here, and I'm queuing up at the bar, and I just hear like a shriek, and I turn around, and some guy's like this, like someone's poured a bucket of water over him, but it ain't water, it's puke, and someone threw, like, some Twitch streamer like literally just hurled, and it was so much puke all over some dude stood on the stairs, and he's like, who's throwing burgers? Like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And it was an absolute nightmare. There was some fucked up people there. This is what I mean. Like, esports should be for older people.
That was when me and Anders were at the top of the barn. Do you remember that? Because there's like at the second floor, me and Anders are jumping up and down. Literally, the barn, his bones are like, vroom, vroom, what's gonna go?
They were trying to cause a fucking an earthquake, I think. So anyway, enough of that bullshit. So we're talking about the good times in esports, and obviously that's kind of appropriate for you, right? Because one of the ways you had your breakout, which I know that's a really dismissive thing to say for somebody that's been in the game for as long as you have been, but it's the same way people say Richard Lewis rose to prominence when he wrote the iBuyPower stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
guess I wasn't around before 2015. Thanks, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was the Adderall thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you've talked about this before, but since this is going to be an expansive podcast, let's talk about that. So you go into that interview with Samfis. Now, me and you, we're streetwise. We know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because you didn't ask him a direct question about Adderall.
No,
right?
I was like, hey, how you doing? He's like, we were all on Adderall.
Yeah. So tell us about that. Like, how the fuck does that come about? Because that is crazy that happened.
Yeah. So that was like my first set of interviews, and that was when I was like just kind of doing different things because I was trying to get into esports as into esports as I possibly could. And I expressed on my stream one day that I was like, I want to do interviews. Like, I think I'd be good at it. And then one of my viewers was like, okay, I got a camera, let's go. And he literally drove up from Maryland. Taylor picked me up in Toronto, drove up to Montreal. We like paid for our hotels, and then we decided to get and we applied for press accreditation and got it, and then did these interviews at ESWC as my first round of interviews. And they're actually quite good. Like, I still think they're good, even though it's been so much time. I've like improved a lot. But I was like talking to these different players. I remember like drinking all day long because I was so nervous to talk to all these pro players. The first time seeing Shocks, I had to like take a knee. I was like, holy fuck, I look up to this guy. Like, I've never seen them before. But I ended up talking to Sempis, and we just kind of like hit the ground running, where he was very comfortable, and I didn't know a lot about him, but I knew somewhat, where he was just a pretty open person. And we're just going this line of questioning. I think it was about like him as a coach and just different player stuff. And then he started going on a tangent about Cloud9, and this was after he had left the team. And all of a sudden he was like, everyone, I'm just going to say it, we were all on Adderall. And my reaction was just kind of smiling and like nodding along, because that's why he felt comfortable talking to me, because I wasn't going to get surprised by that. I kind of had understood that this was normal. I know that like there are videos of like, I don't know, is a Shazam and Freakazoid on Adderall at ESEA land. Like, tons of players had done this like lots of times, like, you know, and it wasn't all that weird, but afterwards the blowback was crazy. It was like my and this is just coincidental, but I think it was like the first time I met you at the MLG minor. Where
the first time you met me was when the drugs were flying around.
Yeah.
Fancy that.
Yeah. Only in the past, of course. And
yeah.
I remember, and oh my God, you had a good joke. I don't know if I should tell it. Can I tell it? It was a harmless joke. I thought it was very funny, and it was about me. So.
Oh no! Better not. Better not, then, dude. Better not, dude. Better leave that alone now, dude.
Yeah. I know.
We'll tell that one after I get fired from Turner, right? We'll tell
Okay.
Yeah.
But I met you. You're one of the people that I think everybody needs to meet in real life, because you're surprisingly warm. Like, I thought you were gonna be. I mean, I guess I expected you to be like a bro in the sense that just come up and be like, "Yo, what's going on, man?" But it's a complete 180 from like, what was that show that you used to do with the broken wall on your? What was that? Trash Talk?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. So I would see that, and I would see people. You would always talk about like how much people hate you and all this stuff, and I was like, what's going on? Like, this guy seems pretty cool. And when I met you in person, you were super just amicable and just like very friendly, and I thought you were gonna hate me, and that wasn't the case. So. Anyways, that's just a side thing. Like, anybody who gets to go to an event and has the opportunity, I recommend you meet Richard Lewis, even if you fought with him on Twitter about something stupid.
Yeah, the thing is, they don't understand that I can't take any shit online. Like, online's where I live. That's my house. That's my office, right? Like I've done it a bunch of times. Like, I'll squash any beef because I fight the battles. I don't fight the people, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if the battle is good journalism and I see somebody doing bad journalism, I'll call it out. And it's got nothing to do with that person. If that person feels I've wrecked them, like Slasher does or whatever, then, I'm sorry about that. But
man, one thing I learned about myself that this is something I've worked on with I'm very opinionated, and I'm, I have a very low tolerance for bullshit as well, but I pretty much, I guess I keep myself quiet, but I don't think anybody should be ashamed of having a low tolerance for bullshit. Like, if you think something's fucked up or stupid or wrong or morally ridiculous, then if you want to say something, like, that's your right. Like, you just got to own who you are. So I don't have a problem with it. But
that's the thing. Like, long after any job you have, you're gonna crawl out of bed with a hangover, and you're still you. And it's like a breakup with a. Like, have you ever been in a relationship, Launders, right, where you don't want to break up, but like the person you're with is all the fucking way tuned out. They're done. Yeah. They're done. Yeah. And you're trying to keep it alive. And you're like, no, I can change. I can do this. I can do that, please. Whatever it is. And you're not going to save the relationship. What happens immediately after that relationship ends and you go through that 3-month period of turmoil and discombobulation, hating yourself, and you grow fucking...
You wish you were just fucking you and you the whole time.
You wish you kept your dignity, right? You wish you kept your dignity and your pride. It's the one fucking thing. And that's my advice to fucking everybody is like, jobs come and go, friends come and go, partners come and go, but like the person you are with the entirety of your life is you. Never fucking sell that out for nothing, because it ain't worth it. Because you got to wake up and look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, so absolutely.
So back to Semphis. So he just does the interview and just completely gives up this Adderall thing. Like, when you're an interviewer, because I used to do interviews as well. You I always knew anyway that, wow, this answer is gonna fuck. Like, this is a bomb. This is a grenade that's about to go off. Okay, and you've got to kind of ride the interview out while you're still doing it. But in the back of your mind, you're like, well, that's all anyone's gonna remember from this shit, because that's too crazy. So did you know when you did it? It was like, that was happening?
So I mean, it seemed like from my response, I just had no idea, and that was actually the truth. Like when he was saying that, I was just kind of like, oh, this is edgy, this is interesting, this is like some shit that will probably get like upvotes, and everything relies on Reddit. So I was just thinking about like, is this going to do well on Reddit as an interview, because my YouTube channel wasn't very big at the time, and I thought it like checked all those boxes. I didn't think it was going to be like a giant controversy that was going to get me in the fucking New York Times and on like evening news in Germany and like random shit like that. Like I thought it was just like a mildly edgy thing that happened, because I assumed that a lot of people were doing these at big events, and a lot of organizers pretty much knew that, and that it wasn't. It was kind of a gray area whether it was legal or not. But yeah, I remember that morning the video went up on Reddit, and the title was obviously a quote from the video, which was a focus of the interview, which we talked about, which was the Adderall thing. And I would think it was on the phone. I don't know, it was my girlfriend or something like that in the morning, and I saw Semphis in the lobby, and he gave me the worst cut eye ever. And this is, I had not met any players up to this point, so I wasn't expecting to have enemies already. But
he was Semphis pissed off about it.
Yeah, he was pissed off about it, but I didn't know why, so I wasn't like down on myself for it. Like it was like, I didn't even put it on Reddit. It was somebody else did, right? Like, but we're friends now. Like it was fine. I think he was just kind of like.
Did he explain why he was pissed off?
We didn't really. We were all waiting for our cabs to get to the airport, so it was just like that. I mean, maybe he doesn't feel like he was giving me cut eye, but yeah. But that was definitely.
Because I mean, like when you say something like that, it's definitely all you. Like 100% it's you. Like
I didn't ask him a question.
Yeah, if you'd said, "So I heard a rumor you were on fucking Adderall," that's different to him going. Like doing a fucking rock in WWE, taking the mic off you and going, "Let me tell you something, Launders. We were fucking wrecked on speed the entire time." That's that. He completely gave it up. And what Cloud9 always said was that he did that out of some form of fucking like bitterness towards the team.
Nah, Semphis, like he's just an open guy. Like,
I don't think he was bitter, but like the Cloud9 camp was kind of like, oh, this is an ex-player who. Felt a little bit aggrieved about the way it all went down, and so he's spreading rumors and disinformation to try and hurt us, and none of it's true, But I mean, like I kind of believe Semphis, honestly.
He had no reason to lie, right? Yeah. I think the great thing about that interview was like that it was just a great interview outside of that question. He was very open and honest. He's exactly the player I love talking to. I encourage all players to be like him, where they just say what's on their mind at all times. And, the reason why he told me is because he didn't feel too guilty about it. And to be honest, if you want to get into that conversation, it's not that fucking big a deal that there was like Adderall involved. And like, you might argue about whether or not it's legal or not, and it should be banned. But I don't know if the rules were in place at that time. Like only after that did ESL, enforce drug testing and all this stuff. But at the time, he was saying what's on his mind, and he didn't think it was that bad, and neither did I, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, look, drugs in esports, like, come on. Like, what, I'm supposed to believe nobody knew? Like, especially in NA? Are you fucking kidding me?
I did a fucking interview, or I went to a Northern Arena event in Toronto, and ESPN, some lady from ESPN came to the event, and they immediately recognized me, obviously, and they were doing a piece about Adderall, and they had like some interview with a COD player in this 40-minute piece. I think it was actually you who ended up linking it to me while we were in the green room, but she would ask, I was like, I don't want to talk. I've done so many interviews already. I did like a full-length Game Informer piece on that. Like it's out there. Like this was a year after this had all gone down. It was just talked about so much. I never thought it was a big deal in the first place. But when she did the interview, she was asking me like, 7 or 8 questions, and then would get back to the Adderall thing, and then I would kind of blow it off, and then she would come back to it and keep asking that question over and over again. She was just kind of get that one quote, and then only ended up using out of this 15-minute interview that one sentence I had that mildly looked like it was a huge problem that Adderall was in our scene. And
you got completely fucked on that. And here's the thing: they didn't even focus on the right areas. So I mean, first of all, let's talk about drugs. My experience in drugs, because it's very different in Europe. When I first started going to LANs, the drugs, because the Adderall isn't really a thing in Europe. It's not as prominent. My first encounter with it, my first awareness, when NA players started colliding with EU players, and there were several NA players who were bringing Adderall over with them. I think they had valid prescriptions, but they would sell Adderall at the events. They would sell it to their fellow competitors almost. And it was like, hey, we're not going to get a deep run in the tournament, so we're going to sell some pills while we're here and make some money on the side. And you know, all the NA guys were saying to the EU guys, you got to get on this Adderall shit, you know, like old school, like when I was like 10, like what I was told a drug dealer was like, yeah, this shit'll change your life. You'll get religion, you'll get Jesus, you know. So anyway, prior to that, what I'd seen was pretty much just recreational drugs. The first time I ever saw any players use anything performance enhancing was around about 2007. And I remember there was a UK team, again, I won't name names, but they were all taking beta blockers, right? Or beta, as Americans like to say, you know, beta blockers. And now my understanding how beta blockers work is that this would only be placebo. Don't they have to take... Don't you have to? I don't know. I'm not, I'm not a pharmacologist, but my understanding is you have to take them for a prolonged period of time. But anyway, they were convinced it would stop their adrenaline and heart rate going up in clutch situations. And I was like, y'all are fucking stupid. Like straight up, you're all are stupid. Like if you need that kind of crutch mentally, like whatever. So there was that. But then the key thing that was flying around were uppers, cocaine. Cocaine was huge at European events. And this is going to sound like an excuse. I'm definitely not excusing using illegal drugs. But the justification I always got was, right, we started our first game at 9 a.m. It's now 4 a.m. How the fuck do you think we're all staying awake and alert? Energy drinks. Yeah. And it weren't energy drinks, mate. They were fucking, they would chop up some fucking lines and do some beaks. So
crossword puzzles.
Yeah, right. And that was like 2008. So I knew there was always this undercurrent of drugs. Adderall was way worse in the Call of Duty scene. I mean, I heard a story actually about a tournament that got stopped, and I've got a bunch of evidence for it, and I can't. It's not there. It's like 99%. It's not 100. So I couldn't publish it or do a video on it or anything. But it was a tournament that stopped because one guy had to call a paramedic and make sure he was okay because he took too much Adderall. And they all covered it up saying, oh, he just had a funny turn. He drank too many energy drinks. You got to be careful. Watch the caffeine content. But he was fine. And like even the admins and tournament organizers were lying about this. And it's like he'd popped a bunch of fucking Adderall and was potentially in a bad way, right?
My favorite part about the whole thing was that at that tournament, people always, just like forget this, is that Cloud9 came fucking last place at that ESL event. Like they came dead last. The reason that Sempis brought it up was because their comms were a disaster because of the Adderall. Yeah. And it's just like, you forget that the anxiety that comes along with it. And that's like stuff you're talking about, people using beta blockers so that they can be more calm on land. Adderall does the exact opposite. So even if there are some benefits, it's just not like, it's not the golden drug. Like people aren't relying on it, or like, the prices aren't going up on Adderall, I guess is the point,
Yeah, and that was the fucking, I mean, that's the other thing as well. The idea that Adderall is some sort of fucking fix-it, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like, having talked to players who've used it and don't like it, they're like, I couldn't play. My brain was all over the place. I couldn't think in clutch situations. I felt really skittish and jittery. And this is why I've said, like, look, in theory, Adderall or nootropics is the other thing. These could be performance-enhancing drugs for esports, but we simply don't know because nobody's ever done a controlled study into whether or not they enhance your performance. Which is why I was always against the rulings that came in after your interview, right? Which is the other madness. You did one interview with a throwaway quote in it about how people were on Adderall, and we get drugs testing off the back of that. And I don't think ESL understood my position, but my position is this. I do not support cheating in sports. I do not support any competitive advantage. Like when Lance Armstrong had basically rotted his nuts away by doing too much fucking testosterone, winning Tour de France's while he's ravaged by cancer, and everyone's going, no, this is legit because I want to believe. Like, no, this guy's straight cheating. He's straight cheating, right? You know, it was so obvious for so fucking long. But whatever, you know, like I don't want a sport like that where it's like people are turning a blind eye and everyone's ripped to the tits. But conversely, show me your fucking study, do some work, do some legwork, and then make your bans appropriate. Don't just ban something because it's banned in athletics. You know, nandrolone's not going to fucking help out the average esports player, right? But it's on the WADA controlled substance list. So yeah, that's my issue. I think everybody like jumped on. Oh, hey, we're a real sport too, so we need drugs testing. All right, what fucking drugs? Nootropics are going to be the performance enhancing drug in esports, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I even use a couple like L-theanine is a huge drug that I mean, it's not even a drug though. Like nootropics are just supplements that the FDA are trying to control. But yeah, I mean, they maybe have effects, they maybe don't. Adderall might be a little bit more serious. But yeah, definitely my position is that they should be illegal. Like it should have been banned after that. That's completely fine. It's just that it was blown way out of proportion. And it was all because of the fact that it was like people from traditional sports were trying to be able to draw a bridge between their real entertainment, their real form of entertainment, and then ours, where there weren't a lot of ways for them to relate, you know, to their kids playing on their computers, which they didn't grow up on. So I think that was the big thing. That it was like that was the first time I realized, you know, what media tries to do to make esports relatable, and that was kind of the gross part of it all.
Yeah, it was the same. It was the same with the iBuyPower thing. You know,
match fixing, exactly.
Yeah, all the mainstream media coverage was like, "Oh my God, look, they've got match fixing now. That's what makes them a real sport." The scandal. Mm-hmm. I didn't see a single mainstream media write-up talk about how those guys didn't make any salary whatsoever. Yeah. They compared it to like match fixing in mainstream sports. They even deliberately skirted away from collegiate match fixing because, again, why do collegiate athletes match fix? Because they get fucked in America.
Yeah,
I think this saw something in the NFL just recently where it was like a collegiate athlete got told he couldn't even monetize his YouTube channel. I think that just happened. So it's basically if you're a college athlete in America, you're not allowed to make any fucking money. And they do this, to stop corruption? It creates more corruption, you dumb motherfuckers. What y'all doing? Yeah. Meanwhile, obviously, come in, buy your likeness rights to put in a video game, and you don't get a fucking penny of that, by the way. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, like Cloud9, a lot of people don't know. Like Cloud9 were getting a salary before iBuyPower even was, even though iBuyPower was the best team in North America. They were at the point where, and this is obviously a conversation you've had a million times, so I don't mean to like burn your ears here, but like, it's just like iBuyPower were at the point where they were scrimming. They were 30-0 in scrims. They had an undefeated season at ESEA. They were by far and away the best team in North America. They were so much better than everyone else that teams wouldn't even fucking play them because they were so good, because they played so properly that they just didn't want to have to lose against a team that badly. And they had an awful time practicing. Like, Dave's a strict leader that he wanted to win. He did everything properly, and nobody wanted to, and he didn't have any fun in practice. He played to fucking win the game, and they went on and they went to Europe, and they had like a small streak of games where they were doing really well, or tournaments. They had like they had Fnatic in the finals at some event, and like Navi in another one, and had some problems coming back to North America, but that was like their opportunity to make money because they weren't making salaries, barely came out with good placings, and then had to come back to North American practice. Of course they're going to be fucking tempted, like it was a tough situation. It was a different time, and I don't think a lot of people sympathize with that fact.
Yeah, it's like I say, look, these things don't just come into, like, there's this idea that the only reason match fixing came in was greed. The entire reason is greed. The only reason drugs come in, greed, cheating. And it's 100% of the pie chart. And you're like, are you fucking stupid? Do you not know anything about how this works? That if you have any sport, for example, why is African football rife with match fixing? Why is Eastern Europe rife with match fixing? Why are the smaller clubs in Italy rife with match fixing? Why is all this happening? Well, look, if you create an environment where athletes, if you have disparity of wealth, where the top stars are making $250,000 a week, upwards more of that, You're playing in the same league for a smaller club, and you make like, 3,000, right, a week. Obviously, you're going to be tempted to throw a fucking game now and then to supplement the income. On top of that, organized crime gets in. Now you're being threatened and coerced into doing it. There's all these other elements, right, that if you just look at why these things happen. And as I said before, the drugs that I saw in esports weren't like, haha, let's all cheat. It's that tournaments were so fucking badly run with delays and anything. How do you say to an elite level athlete, come in the morning, have a cup of coffee or a Monster or whatever? It's 9 a.m. There's your first competitive best of 3, and you're going to get finished, around about fucking, 10 hours later because we fucked up. And then you got to come in tomorrow and do it again, and then do it again. That's no way to fucking live. These guys were literally absolutely fucking wrecked. So you needed something to keep you awake, keep you alert, and people were turning to drugs to do it. Yep. That's the reality. If they just ran a tournament in a humane fashion, where it was like you played 2 best of 3s day 1, 2 best of 3s day 2, maybe another best of 3 or a best of 5, and then a final, then nobody would be needing to take shit to stay awake and stay focused because you would be competing for a reasonable amount of time. Think about it. Like, imagine if a football match lasted 12 hours. Athletes would be jacked. They'd have to be.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is crazy. If you take a break for 3 hours, you cannot play the same. So you have to stay warm the entire time, but then you also have the expectation to not get burnt out. Impossible.
Yeah. You can't do both.
Yeah.
So, I always thought the mainstream media, when they started getting into esports, they really presented it in a disingenuous way. Like, to frame the iBuyPower guys as just greedy assholes who wanted to make some money on the side without even looking at the ecosystem at the time. Is absurd. And that's why, like iBuyPower probably, they'll be like, I talk to the iBuyPower guys and I do feel sorry for them because their brand is now synonymous with that. And that's really fucked up for them. But equally, just imagine if the iBuyPower guys hadn't have been at iBuyPower, or if iBuyPower had paid a really good salary. And then when that conversation came up, and they were like, hey, do you want to throw a match for $700 worth of skins each? They go, why the fuck would we risk our $1,000, $4,000, whatever it was? Why would we risk that salary for this? And then it doesn't happen, right? And okay, maybe you should say the conversation should never happen in the first place. But you've got to create an environment where dishonesty can't creep in because everybody's human. Everybody will have moments where they falter, right?
No, of course they fucked up and they deserve punishment. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Just a quick question, because we're going to take a break at the halftime thing and we're here anyway. I don't think I've heard your kind of comprehensive views on iBuyPower. Just as an aside, obviously ESL lifted their ban after, it's been 2 years or whatever, or 2 years plus. What are your thoughts about all that?
Oh man, I'm extremely happy for them. I don't think people realize exactly how good they were. As soon as they disbanded, I have a video where I was almost in tears because I was worried about the state of North American Counter-Strike and how far we'd be set back because there was so much talent on that one team that it was at the point where you couldn't even decide who the best player was, but anybody's picks were either Swag, AZK, Dazed. It was 3 of the best players in North America were all on the same team. Scoodle, best operator in North America, was on the same team. And for them to be able to play is amazing to me. I'm happy for them. And I'm also, I also think about the fact that there's tons of money to be won outside of majors. And it's actually kind of nuts that we're at the point where, majors are super important because of sticker money, because the game, the streams in the game and the viewership record's always being broken. But there is more prize money to be won outside of majors by far than there is inside of them. So I think it's awesome. And, these guys are fucking straight up depressed. They have gone through hell and back, and no, I'm sorry, but if you don't think that they're rehabilitated, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a bunch of times. It's not so much whether or not they play. I understand there's a debate there, but to make anybody persona non grata because of some poor choices, those choices have to be unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
And these, at the time, like, people were fixing fucking matches back then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everybody was doing it. Like not everybody, but I mean, a lot of fucking teams did it. NA was rife with it.
Oh yeah.
In a circle, wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all know about that shit. And I think it's fucked up, dude. I think it's sad that they become the poster boys for bad decisions. When a lot of people made those decisions, and I think if we'd caught everybody, we never will now, but if we had, I think that like we'd either have to wake up to a scene where some high level European pros got fucked, and then maybe that changes everyone's mind. I don't know, but we're probably talking. I don't know, like
a lot of people forgot that Virtus Pro like bet on a game where they knew the outcome too, and they never got banned for it. Like that was just known, like they got caught on CS:GO Lounge betting on a game that they knew the outcome to, and
it was like a restream. That was so fucked up.
I mean, they didn't set it up, but they capitalized on. They were taking money from people. It was and
this is the other thing, right? I mean, when Valve came out after the ban and they said, look, just to clarify, you shouldn't be associating with gamblers. You shouldn't be placing bets on any competitive match. Yeah, I've said it to all the commentators. Like I take it very seriously. I have never placed a bet on any game in any capacity, cash, skins, because I have insider knowledge. It's not fair. I have an advantage that the average bettor out there doesn't have. I hear if there's trouble in a roster. I hear if somebody's sick. I hear if somebody's broke up with their girlfriend. I can bet accordingly. In Vegas, that's the kind of information that you pay people for.
Yeah.
For sports betting. I mean, this is how organized crime operates. You get insider information and you bet accordingly. Yeah. So I don't do it, and I've told all my other commentators to be the same. Even though there's no rules for us, apparently, I think there fucking should be. I'm absolutely super serious about that. And I mean, it seems crazy to me that it's still going on. I saw a pro player, 3 months ago, openly bet skins with his Steam account or just on a game of Counter-Strike, just openly.
Yeah, no, it was specifically noted that anyone, I remember the announcement, it was just like anyone who's associated with events, commentators, pro players, or anything like that cannot spend money betting on events. You won't get caught. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. There's so much going on under the radar. It makes me sad. But look, we're going to take a quick break. We're at the halfway point. I'm sure you need to go take a pee or get another drink. I'm going to do the same. Everybody out there, do stay tuned. We're going to hit you with some ads. Sam will probably do something funny as well to keep you amused. And we'll be back in about 3 to 5 minutes. So stick around and we'll have more Launders after the break. Got a mouthful of Nutrigrain protein bar. I don't know why I don't lift, so that's a waste of time. But anyway, we're back with Launders. He's poured out some bourbon, so looking forward to seeing where this goes. So next line of questions are going to talk about talent and commentary and that kind of thing. So obviously that is kind of the day job, or rather it was. So let's just talk a little bit about that, because there's a lot of people in NA that are out there kind of doing commentary, and maybe a lot of people don't really know so much about their background and their history, because it strikes me as strange that more people don't know you as a commentator. Like I heard somebody call you, Launders is the guy who does the interviews. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it feels like everybody knows me from something else, and that's because I haven't really, I haven't been the best in any one field yet, and that's kind of been my goal from the beginning. But funnily enough, I've spread my talent so thin where I've just tried different things, just like you. You've done so many different things, but you've been much more successful in each of those things. So I've always wanted to have that one thing that I was known best for. And I think to your question, as a commentator, I think I've improved a lot. I think one of my best skills and one of the things I love most about commentating is not just doing analysis, because sometimes analyst desks run a lot on personality or like, Thorin's ability to reference like any fucking round in history, which is amazing, but I can't do that. What I'm great at is like seeing something live and then understanding why a player moved the way he did in that one moment, So like I really love the live analysis stuff, but the presentation aspect of it is something that doesn't come naturally to me. So I think that's why I haven't ever like broken into the tier 1. And then working at Yahoo meant that I had to kind of take a step back from that. And then, I was still able to do events they gave me the freedom to, but obviously not as many. So now I'm starting to get back into it. I did, not a lot of people saw this, but I did DreamHack Atlanta with Scrawny. Scrawny's a North American commentator. He's hella talented, man. This guy's so great. His diction, he never fudges up his diction. And I really believe that he'll be really good. And he's from North America as well. So, Metas is a guy that I was supposed to originally duo with, and I would have no problems doing that because he's a fantastic commentator and has really come into his own in the last year. But him being on the other side of across the pond it has caused problems. And then he was like partnered with Dust for a while. So I'm starting to get back into that, and I really want to do commentary more. And I think, as an aside, at first I didn't have respect for commentators as much, where for me, I was always a person who I wanted to be a player. Like I love doing things. Like I played all sports, but I don't watch any. Like I played so much basketball when I was younger, but I couldn't tell you like who won the championship like 5 years ago. I'm always been a doer. So the fact that I was always this player that I started at 22 and started playing CSGO. I knew coming into it I wasn't going to be able to be a player, but when I started getting really good, I was getting to the point where I had to worry about my rents, worry about my mom who's going to retire soon. I had to think like, I've got to move into content. I've got to do something that's sustainable, that's going to make me a lot of money. And there's a lot of players out there that don't have that. So as fortunate as I am for the position I'm in, I didn't really have respect for the commentary role because I always thought this is a role for people who weren't good enough to play. I don't think that anymore. I really, I know now, like the fact that we break viewership records is because of commentators. The fact that we have an esport or a game to play in the first place is because of commentators. I really do have a lot more respect for it now that I can finally get to the point where I feel good trying hard to be good at it.
Yeah, I think everybody, when they try it, they get that renewed respect for what we do, right? Like me and Sir Scoots, we kind of agree in the sense that it should be about the players on the stage, the players in the booths. It's about them first and foremost. And I don't like when on-air broadcast talent kind of grandstands a little bit and takes a little bit of the shine away from the players. I saw a lot of that in StarCraft 2, where it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, that was the first esport where I really saw tournament organizers fawn over the stars, like even more so than 1.6. Like when ESL, for example, were literally saying to Counter-Strike Source tournament winners, you're not getting your money because we've got to fly players to StarCraft tournaments. That was when I was like, yeah, this is out of fucking control now. But at the height of all of that, you had commentators in StarCraft who were like, yes, I'm here. I'm here, everybody. We've got an event. And there was an event every weekend. It was the same people. And the community were like, oh my God, so-and-so isn't there. And I was like, wow, this is like really narcissistic. The rise of the fucking commentator as the centerpiece of the event, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, the reality is it's a lot harder than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
And I had this chat with, Freiberg after he did the desk and a few players who've done it. They're all like, oh, yeah, wow, actually, yeah, being an analyst kind of sucks in terms of your workload and what you have to do. And a lot of players who transition into that role, do find that it's not as easy as you get up, talk bollocks for 15 minutes. You got to be succinct. You got to have your points all queued up. You got to watch the games. And it's a pretty long fucking day. While players are chilling back at a hotel, you're still in the green room, watching a match because you've got to pick 2 or 3 rounds that you need to talk about to explain why a team won in a game that could, have gone 5 overtimes.
Yep.
So it's a lot tougher than people think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like to rate it for people who don't know, you obviously do as a host. I would say the host is by far the hardest and worst job, where you're there from the earliest call time to the latest. You have to prepare the most for every single game to ask the best questions. You have the expectation to keep the conversation going smoothly the entire day, and you have to stay on point just like everyone else does. Where if you even miss a beat on any sentence, you won't hear the end of it on Reddit. So it's a really tough job where you got to stay awake the entire time. And then the analysts is the next up, where they have to, as the experts, pay attention to every single game that happens all day fucking long. Like Yanko was talking about how like those breaks really do kill him. And it's like, you can be a hardworking person. Again, I've worked all the worst jobs on the planet, and yet I understand that like as the difference for the standard that we are put to is that the standard for us is that we have to stay at the top of our game for every hour of the day, as opposed to just show up. We can't just wake up. We have to like be intelligent. We have to say things like we have to have creative input about what happened in the game. And sometimes it's hard, man. Like I was at WESG and literally we weren't always watching Counter-Strike. Like we were expected, I was commentating, which I was fortunate to do that, but like the analysts couldn't even have Counter-Strike on TV at all times because there's so many games. Like the shit isn't as polished as people think. It's very difficult, where sometimes we don't have sound, sometimes we don't have a game, and that sucks. It should never be like that, obviously, but it's much harder than people think, for sure. Commentators have it the best, I would say, where you only do the 40 minutes, but at the same time, you have the most pressure, where all the stuff that you say gets clipped. People are hanging on every single moment of the game. Every time you mess up, you're taking their immersion away. So your job is much harder in that sense. And it's not easy. Yeah.
No, and again, like for the hosting part, it is fucking crazy, because like you walk in this insane tightrope of having to kind of manage everyone's feelings on the broadcast as well, right? I mean, this is the thing people probably don't know and don't talk about. There's like maybe 3 or 4 people in the industry who know what I'm talking about. But like, okay, so production needs you to get out at a key point. They might have queued up some graphics or something, or a feature. And obviously the tournament organizer might want a hard finish at this time. We might have so the broadcast has got to go. Meanwhile, so I got to think about how they're going to feel if I fuck them over, because I've got the license, because they if they just cut me off, it looks terrible. Yeah. So I can buy time if I need to. And when I get taught back, some people might have seen in older VODs, I'll be like, nope. And I'll be like, I'll be talking, but you can't hear what I'm saying. I'm talking to production and saying, no, I'm pressing a button under the table and I'm saying, look, we gotta hear this point, right? Because so and so hasn't spoken or whatever. But then, of course, sometimes you've got to cut people off, and you've got to do the hard cut off, because we've got to go to an ad break, or like it's rolling. Someone's in my ear going 10, 9, 8, right? So that's happening while I'm trying to talk and listen. So I anybody just do this. Just play someone talking in your ears through your earphones and try and have a conversation with someone else and see how you do. That's what a host's doing. Yeah. So if you cut somebody off, the talent might get upset, right? Mm-hmm. And that's happened to me a bunch of times where, talent have come up to me and been like, I didn't like that you did that, or, you didn't use me enough in a segment. You cut me off. Or some people will just be like, your hosting's fucking garbage, fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it just depends. It's on a sliding scale how emotional people can be. Mm-hmm. And then occasionally you get into this weird fucking feedback loop where you did what production wanted, you cut the guy off, you got to the break, and then the production will come and go, yeah, you kind of cut them off a little bit there. Can you use them more in this segment? You're like, what do you fucking want? So it is like you're trying to be all things to all men, and my rule is always just be true to the broadcast. Like, in your mind while it's happening, what's good TV, what people are going to enjoy, and if you got to upset production sometimes to do it. And if you got to upset talent sometimes, do it.
I've heard you negotiate hard for talent, where you've asked for we're not going to be able to cover this in 3 minutes. We need 5 minutes at least to talk about what just happened. So can we get that? And made sure that you have enough time. because you are put in the difficult position of having production in your ear, just as you're saying, and then having to not tell everybody who's beside you what production is telling you, but at the same time abide by them and have smooth transitions the entire time. So yeah, the responsibility is huge.
It's a tough gig, dude, and I urge players especially to give analysis a try. But which role do you prefer? Because you've done all of these different bits. Commentary, interviews. Like I've thought about it. Maybe you could be like, when we've had like scoots in like the mix zone or whatever the fuck we call it these days, where it's like you'd be pulling players to one side. I could see you doing that very well.
Yeah, I like the live interviews. I'm not a huge fan of, just because it's just like in sports, like the post game interviews in sports, like some like sweaty player comes up to the interviewer, like, how are you feeling? What's up? Like 2 or 3 questions and then it's over. I don't get a lot of, just as you like long form content, so do I. I like my interviews to go on like 15, 20 minutes, really get to know somebody, you know what I mean? And I don't get that when it's just like an emotional moment after a win. So I like color commentary the best by far. I know a lot of people say I was cut out for the analyst desk, but I think I've improved my casting quite a bit, and I think I want to pursue that heavily. I just needed the play-by-play caster, because as you know, the landscape has changed, where now in the last year you don't get jobs unless you have a duo. Even like you can't just come in as like people were mixing people up like 2 years ago, where they would just hire a color, maybe 3 color. Sometimes they would hire like 3 play-by-play casters and a color commentator and expect to have a good event. Like, you need to have a good balance, and ideally you need to have like a perfect balance where you have 2 colors, 2 play-by-plays. And I think I can really do a good job as a color commentator. I enjoy that the most. Live analysis is what I was made to do, where like talking about an exact decision or a specific moment and highlighting it, making sure people understand why it was a great moment. That's what I enjoy conveying to the audience. Like, I love why I got into this is I made movement tutorials in CSGO because I wanted people to understand how amazing the movement is in Counter-Strike and how you can't get that anywhere else. And I loved explaining to newer players why this is a great thing and this is why you're playing Counter-Strike and here's how you learn it. So the only time I feel like I have the ability to do that is when I'm in a live analysis role as a color commentator.
See, I was kind of hoping you were going to say, yeah, I'd love to do some interviews so you could just replace Paula at all these times, but whatever.
No, Paula's gotten a lot better. I think for a while he wasn't as good, but he's gotten a lot better.
It's just the fucking, his questions are like trying to solve a Zen Cohen, like just some fucking mad riddle. Like, would you?
Hey guys, device. How did that game go?
I'm not getting in on this.
He's backing out. Look, I think we need. There's room for more interviewers, is what I'm saying. Sure. So color commentary. That's where you feel you belong, because you said you need a partner, right? So I've been telling talent at the moment, like, get away from this partnership bullshit, because I think it I think there's no long-term marriages in esports, right? And that applies to relationships with companies. Like, look at me and DreamHack.
Yeah.
Look at Robert Owen and DreamHack. And if you hitch your wagon to another commentator and become a collective brand, there's not really a lot of fucking room to maneuver after that. I mean, where do you go if one wants to quit, or you're on your own, and like people will be like, let's say for example, I don't know, I don't want to use any examples because they're all real, but let's say me and Thorin, right? Me and Thorin were the package, what people used to call us, because we do events together, and typically analysis, and it was Gfinity that started that, right? So let's say me and Thorin had said at that point, like, I mean, obviously Thorin is fucking he's a real lone wolf, so this would never happen. But let's say we spat on each other's palms and, all right, it's me and you,
blood brothers.
Forever now, right? Mm-hmm. Spit brothers, we're doing it, right? So and if, I don't know, Thorin then went, actually I'm off the fucking League of Legends now forever, full time, I got a job with Riot,
then you would be right back where you started.
It's over. So
I don't even highlight that as a bad thing. Like, I think, like, if you were to do it by yourself, then you would just be by yourself and you would work with whoever you work with. But if you work with a partner, then you would work with that partner. And if it didn't work out, then you would just go back to what you were used to. So with Scrawny, for example, we're trying this duo seriously. We're going to be doing, like, hopefully, like, through Dream Hacks in a row and, like, really solidifying and get to knowing each other. Then if it doesn't work out, then I would want to try to find another play-by-play. So here's, I guess, I don't know if you've, you've casted a couple of times before, right? You've done casting before. You did it in Source, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, I'm sure you'd be quite good at it if you want to pursue it, but obviously everyone wants a host these days, so if you can do that job, they're going to pull you for that. But, if it didn't work out with Scrawny, I would just look for somebody else to work with, because I know it is limiting to know that an event is only going to hire you because you're in a pair, but at the same time, there are so many benefits to working with one person and getting to know them. And I think a lot of Counter-Strike teams talk about this. Like, I've interviewed Guardian for the 4 or 5 last events he's been in, and he's always talked about how the one thing they're lacking is trust, and that he feels like they needed to be more friends outside the game as well as inside the game. Well, I think that's true for commentary as well, where you really, it all goes off without a hitch when you guys are 2 friends talking on a broadcast, as opposed to 2 people that are chosen to work together and have to come up with funny jokes that'll make each other laugh. Whereas, the most difficult part about commentary is making it all seem natural. And you don't really want to have to make it seem natural. You want it to be natural. And the best way to do that is to have a real relationship with the person you're talking to, because you actually like them. And a lot of us, over the years, have gotten used to bending over backwards to kind of not have arguments on broadcast, because that's the worst thing to listen to. Instead, is get along with people, right? And it's so much better if you guys can already just be friends. So,
I mean, I hate that shit. Like, I'm all for a little bit of back and forth, but when something actually turns sour on air, that's so selfish. Like, I'll just say that.
Yeah, it's selfish. Yeah,
it's so selfish. It's so disrespectful to the people watching. Like,
and you're an opinionated guy, but if you hear somebody who has a dissenting opinion of something of some sort, you'll try to, instead of go black and white, like this is right, this is wrong, you'll just try to figure out where they're coming from so the conversation can move along. That's a skill a lot of people have, right?
Because you got to do it, right? I mean, for the good of the show, and we can talk about it backstage, but I've seen this happen on a few broadcasts. I've seen it happen in some Dota broadcasts as well, where there's some just mad snippy fucking remark.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? Did that just happen on air?
Takes you completely out of the moment.
Yeah, you're like, dude, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people are watching this right now. Yeah. In your living room, it's crazy sometimes that talent doesn't, get that. Yeah, it's great. Okay, it is kind of about you because the lights are on and the camera's pointing at you, but ultimately you gotta just rein it in a little bit, and if you need to have a fucking diva moment backstage, that's the place.
Yeah,
backstage. Yeah.
So that was a great thing about Sadukis is I think a lot of people regarded him as a diva, but man, no one fucking works harder than him. And obviously, not anybody, but he was the first person that showed me that even if you're making absolutely no money whatsoever, that you do a good job while you're alive, and then you figure out everything else later. If you have a couple diva moments later, you didn't do it live, so you did your fucking job.
Yeah, I mean, Sadakist is a grafter, no doubt about it. But I mean, I see a lot of people now. I don't think anyone's cruising at the moment, because I don't think you can afford to cruise and Counter-Strike. We got a lot of fucking good people. We got an embarrassing abundance of talent.
Oh yeah.
And you can lose ground. Look at what happened with Vince. Vince had some health problems. Then he had some issues recent bereavement, and Vince needs to take some time. But you think about the headway Vince was making, where people are like, okay, we're gonna start seeing this guy in more top tier events, and Vince was doing partners with Anders, a couple of weird fucking twins, like a David Lynch movie going on.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, wow, this guy's really good, and Vince has kind of had to. He has lost a little bit of momentum, and meanwhile, you see things like DreamHack Atlanta, and this guy Scrawny's coming out of nowhere. I think Scrawny doesn't like me, by the way.
No, I don't think that's true. Why is that?
Well, okay. Well, what happened was, I think it was Scrawny. Do you remember when he first? Was it Scrawny that did this? When he first came through, it was like he casted one of his own rounds. Is this true? Am I right? Am I thinking?
Right? Is that why? I actually don't know. I think it might have been like he got a clip on Reddit where I don't know if he casted his own round. But...
Yeah, I think it was his own round, and he did like commentary over it. And everyone went, "Wow, you should totally be a commentator." Like, it's just a nice thing to say. And like, obviously, he's got a good voice and good syncopation. And then the next day, he was like, "Oh, thanks for all the positive feedback. I actually did a commentary on another game," and it got it voted and it went to the front page. And everyone was like, "Yeah, wow, this is really good. You're really good. Not quite as enthusiastic." And then it was like the next day. I have now done, and I was like, I think I just publicly said, like, motherfucker, can you calm down? Like, can you fucking just wind your neck in and stop trying to like ride? Because even then, like the Reddit community would just like, yeah, all right, we get it, dude. Yeah, you good. And I think I publicly tweeted it and said that fucking Scrawny guy needs to just calm the fuck down with that Reddit shit and just do good work. And it was probably
you got to play the game, Richard.
Yeah,
okay?
I know,
you got to fucking play the game.
He's hustling. I know.
And you know, it's so much harder than when we fucking started too. Like, people ask me like how you get into commentary now, and I was like, oh, I just responded to Sadokist on ESEA forums, and he got me a job. You can't fucking do that anymore. Like, you cannot do that anymore. You have to fight against people who are going to get paid a lot of money to take your job. So unless they're unavailable completely, like, you might not have an opportunity. And at this point, when people ask me how they get into commentary, I say start a YouTube channel, build a personal brand, just as we were talking about, just like you have, just like I have, because that's how you're going to get popular. And you have to beat everybody out by showing that on merit you are popular enough to hold your own with the community. And it's not that easy anymore. And so, you know, if he wants to ride the Reddit wave, we'll fucking let him do it, Richard.
Yeah, I know. It's wasn't out of order, but it's needless. And you're right, man. You got to take your opportunities where they are. And I heard him at DreamHack Atlanta, and you know, he didn't massively blow me away, but he definitely wasn't out of place on a stage. So I mean, that's a compliment for somebody who's still coming through and developing. And you're right, I shouldn't be such a bitter about people doing what they have to do.
We have a long way to go for sure, but I you know, it's great that like he's on this side of the hemisphere as I am, and like that was a big problem. The fact that like the time zones are different. I think there was a point where me and Meadows were talking about group or duoing, and we both got signed up for different events, and it was like, this is getting a little sketchy. You know, it's difficult, and like, you know, the duo thing is such a real thing. Like, E-League picked out the 3 best duos that we have. You know, Anders Semler, DK, James, and Sadokist and Henry. And it's like, there's no world where they're just gonna pick the best clip play-by-play and the best color and then just stick them together. They're gonna pick a duo. So it's something we all think about.
Yeah, the duo thing, like, you know, I'll give props to ESL for what they did, where it was like when you go and work an ESL event, they would break up duos and mix you around. They weren't always doing that for honest reasons. Like, you know, when D-Man was a thing, you know, they were trying to shoehorn D-Man into CS by putting him with Anders, you know, and it would just be like, yeah, this is cancer. Like, no chemistry. And again, you know, like, one guy's got this huge fucking ego and you know, wants to be the guy, and it was just like, you know, because again, like, you know, those League of Legends commentators like Joe and D-Man were like rock stars. I mean, they were like the Tastosis of the biggest esports game at that time, you know, so they were like a secondary Tastosis, and after that, you know, you get Anders and Semler as well, right? But Anders and you know, Anders especially, you wouldn't even think Anders had that kind of status, right? Because he just comes in, it's like, yeah, with his pins on, what's up, bitches? Just like looking confused, like, you're the star, like, what the fuck's going on here? He's just so down to earth, you know. But like, that was their way of trying to put D-Man across, but some good things came out of that. Like, I love Pansy and Moses. I think that's a fucking
they were great.
That's a really good fucking combination of talent, and I think it's helped bring the best out of Pansy. And I think, you know, Moses, I know Moses must have a soft side to him, because I think when he commentates with Pansy, he's like, I know he just seems a bit more playful and fun on a podcast, you know.
Moses is the only reason he's any any bit jaded is because of you and Thorin. You and Thorin in green rooms roasting him 24/7. That's the only reason he's become jaded at all.
No,
Moses is the softest, kindest person in esports, and you guys completely stole his innocence. I just want to put that out there.
This is true, dog. You remember when we had that fucking argument at that MLG event?
Yeah.
You were there for that, right? Yeah, that was awkward as fuck. Because you're right. Look, what you have to understand is when Thorin's at an event, we need a focal point because otherwise Thorin might, fucking. You can't let Thorin pick it.
That's so true.
We need a lightning rod, right? So Moses' job. By the way, Moses is one of the most versatile men in esports. He can do whatever the fuck you ask him to. He can commentate, he can host, he can do analysis. The guy is a baller. He's worth his weight in gold. Maybe even a little more because he's only small, right? But when we're in a fucking green room, Moses does get the shit. Like Moses gets the shit. We've got to fucking roast him all the time. Like, what about when he tried to get in shape and he was on what are those fucking little diet drinks called? Do you know what I mean? Is it Zions or something? I don't know. But you drink these supplements instead of eating.
Yeah. Like Slim Fast or some shit.
You mean like Soylent? Is that what you're talking about?
Soylent, that was it. He was on the Soylent, right?
Okay.
I was like fucking wrecking him all the time. I'm like, and this is coming from me, right? So I'm actually getting roasted about trying to get in shape by me, right? And I'm, is that your fucking hair tonic? Is it like you gotta? What is it? He went out the room. Me and Thorin would be like, let's fill it full of shit. let's put food and shit. It's like he's out losing weight. We were just fucking him all the time. And of course, after 5 or 6 days of that shit, he'd be like, "Will you leave me alone?" Like, fucking hell, Moses.
So it was a bit touchy, mate. Come on.
Mate, fucking calm down. Why'd you neck it? Yeah, we absolutely wrecking him. See, right, it's got to stop. We got to find someone else. But you just don't get a reaction from Anders.
Yeah,
you can't do it with Anders. You don't get a reaction. I never like to do it with Sadikis because I don't know in case he's just gonna snap and Hulk up or something.
Yeah, and Moses is really good at taking it. He's got a great laugh. He's easy going, so it's chill with him, obviously. But your dynamic is really good. It's funny. It's all about playing your role, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. And this is what I mean. I think when people understand their role, both on a desk and backstage, I think that's super important. But anyway, so here's something I want to talk about, and I've talked about this a few times: politics when it comes to talent, right? Because it exists. We all know it exists, and I'm kind of divided on it, right? But we've talked about this enough times. Let's say, for example, at MLG, right? For the major in Ohio, we had all of the qualifiers and the minors and stuff, and you guys were there, right? Mm-hmm. And you were in the commentary and whatever else. And then we get to the major, and it's we roll out these announcements of all the talent that's going to be at the major. And you weren't there, I think, and a few other people like Blue and stuff like that didn't make the cut at the time. So we were again, I'm always divided on it because I think if you're good enough, if people want to see you, you'll just get picked. I'm a big believer in that.
Me too.
But then that's kind of really disparaging about all the guys who are good as well, who don't get picked, right?
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Scoots say, because you saw some real salty ass bitches. The international came around. You saw all these people going, well, I saw one tweet. One dude, he said, I could have made the international better, but never mind. I'm like, motherfucker, are you crazy saying stuff like that? Because I almost feel like it's an insult to the people who did get picked, whether you want to acknowledge that or not, right? But Scott said, Scoots said, it's it's that time of year when everyone starts crying, and it's it's not about you. Nobody deserves to get picked. You either do or you don't. It's not about how much work you put in. It's not about how long you've grinded. It's not about how well you're liked by the community. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about your ability to do the job and the perception of the company hiring of your ability to do the job. But equally, I do feel like sometimes there's some people who just get all the work, and I do feel sorry for the people in that secondary tier difficult. So what are your thoughts?
So like I feel like I am exactly where I should be. I feel like everything should be based off merit, and I feel like the more salty I get, that would put me in the same position as a lot of people who aren't even getting jobs that I do. So I think a huge part of being a caster is networking. That is a big thing. Like, sometimes it's as simple as knowing when not to talk. Like some people just talk way too much, or they just don't know when to shut their mouths, and they're not in a position to do it, and they ruin their own careers that way. And that's how they decide to go about it. I do believe that like just because networking is important doesn't mean that's not a important part of being a caster. Like being well liked is like intrinsic to networking, right? So I think it's all the same thing, to be honest, being talent on screen. And it doesn't always come out as like the best person for their job ends up the best caster, which is kind of just where the chips fall, to be honest. I don't try to think too much about it, and I don't think I deserve to get a major. I think at that first MLG event, I was promised to do the minor, the major qualifier, and the major, but there was a little bit of a mix up in terms of what they thought they told me and what I heard. So, but no, looking back, that lineup was the best possible lineup. I didn't fit into that. I didn't deserve to be there, and I have no problem admitting that. And I think that once I do get to that point, maybe there will be a situation where I do feel saltier, but I haven't felt that way so far. And I think that anybody who feels like they should be in a better position than they are is just doesn't have the proper skills outside of casting that can get them that job. And you know what? Just to be real, that's going to be you in any situation in life. Like, sorry, but a friend is going to get a promotion over a better worker all the time. That is the point. So if you don't know how to play that game either, you're going to have a lot of trouble outside of esports just as well as inside of it. So to me, it's just the game.
I mean, yeah, it's a shame though, because like there's this expectation in the community that we should try out new talent, right? But like people go, "Oh, it's a smaller event, so we should try out smaller talent." But it's like the tournament organizers under no fucking, like they want their tournament to be the best they can. They already know they've not got the teams, so they need the best broadcast talent they can get. All of a sudden, there's actually more pressure on them to hire better people. It's like it's not in their remit to be like, oh, we will help develop you as a broadcasting talent. They don't work. You're fucking.
They don't give a fuck. Yeah, like
they don't care.
Yeah, of course not. Like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, people forget that there's money involved. There is huge stakes involved. Everybody who runs a tournament feels like they want to be the premier Counter-Strike event in the future. Like, they don't think of it as like, we're going to run tier 2 events for the rest of our lives and hire whoever the fuck we can develop from like a premier like style caster, or like I'm talking about like premier as in like premier versus pro league, like, just a tier 2 caster. That's ridiculous to think about. They're just going to hire the best, the most popular, and whoever's available. And there's no reason to ever fault them for that. That's crazy to me. But yeah, you got to play the game, and like the more salty you get, I think that directly affects how many less jobs you'll be available to get to. So I think it's important to just play the game, and like a caster who is just a caster is more prone to get salty than I am. So I have a YouTube channel, I have interviewing, I have Twitch streaming, I have I have the ability to sell content to other people. If I have a dry spell in casting, my whole life isn't going to just be about like what job I didn't get. I can think about doing other stuff first in between, and that helps. It's just like having a girlfriend. Like, being able to know that you have a future after that means that you're not going to be as upset as to what your situation is at that current moment. So it's important, and yeah, I don't know.
So I got to ask you about something. I know we even talked about this in DMs a little bit the other day, because Phantom Lord tried to run some fucking game on me, which didn't work, obviously. So the Frankie on PC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you probably have again comprehensively talked about this before, but here's this Frankie on PC guy. And pretty big YouTube. I'm going to check how many subscribers he's got at the moment.
Millions.
Actually. Yeah, it must be crazy, right? Let's have a look.
I learned all kinds of shit.
3.5 million.
Yeah.
3.5 million subscribers.
That's what entertainment is.
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, I've been grinding to hit that fucking 100K. It's fucking ridiculous. They fuck you. I wake up every day and it's like at like 8 p.m. they just take 100 subs off. For no
I've been
reason.
fucking last 3 vlogs I uploaded after I got back. I lost 150 subs per upload. I don't even know why.
It's just
It's not happening, mate. YouTube, it's not happening.
Not happening.
No, it's not us. Nah, you must just be shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the fucking. I'm really gonna focus on building up the Twitch now because I know at least Twitch aren't fucking with the number of followers I got.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, we're at like 34,000. Like, I can build that up to 100,000. I reckon it'll be a lot easier building a Twitch channel than it will be a fucking YouTube channel. I'll tell you that for nothing.
That's the other thing that we learned, that live content is so much more profitable than pre-recorded. Bottom line. So
yeah, definitely. But anyway, so the summary was, and just jump in if I get any of this wrong. Basically, Frankie on PC, posts like gameplay stuff. And he was doing a lot of Counter-Strike videos at the time. It was kind of vogue. A lot of YouTubers were getting on board with it. And he did this video of him doing these like insane perfect bunny hops, Foon style, who totally cheated, by the way. I mean, definitely was a good bunny hopper in his own right. But the video everybody loves, I hope you all know, you all love just a grieving video of a guy blatantly cheating his tits off. But that's another thing.
You're talking about Foon cheating. I have no idea about that.
Yeah,
no
absolutely, 100%. He demon. Yeah, it's all funny, but he was cheating. But Frankie on PC, like again, I watched it and I'm like, that motherfucker's it's at least a script. I mean, it's not even up for debate. You only have to know a little bit about how the game works to be able to see that. And you called him out on it, right? Which and made a video breaking down why it happened, and then things started to get fucking crazy.
So that's when I think I'm most identified with you, because I put out this video of Frankie, who has a giant fan base, just like iBuyPower, for example, and it was actually, I have never done these kind of like H3 style videos where I do reaction type content or criticisms of other people's videos. I stayed in my own lane and didn't bother other people. And this was the first time where someone had tweeted me and they said, listen, I think this guy Frankie is cheating in Counter-Strike, and I've heard of him cheating before, but now he's playing my game and I actually think this too. Can you make a video about it? And I was like, no. He's like, dude, I'm a big fan of his, and I just don't want to be subscribed to somebody who I think is cheating. And then I said, okay, let me do a video about this. So, it wasn't because I wanted cross promotion. I didn't want to fucking start a YouTube war with some giant YouTuber just to get a ton of hate because I felt like it would benefit me. Like, I did it because somebody actually felt like the integrity of the game was being hurt, and they felt like they were a fan of somebody that they were impressed by someone's skills that were completely cheated, So I made this video, and it was a very like even keeled commentary on this. I remember Daze messaged me on Steam, and he's like, why the fuck were you so nice to that Frankie guy? Obviously he was fucking scripting. And was like, yeah, I know. But if you know as well as I do, if you put anything out to somebody who is loved by millions of people and are at all critical in a very black and white sense, you're just going to get so much hate that you won't be able to come back from it. So I was just like, no, these are the facts, and everything else, I was like, let the community decide, So I put it all out there. Video went up. He ended up filing a DMCA on it, and then sending me a message on YouTube saying that the video was taken down by his third party revenue, whatever.
The MCNs or whatever they're called.
Right? Yeah, and then I had a bunch of big YouTubers like Doom 49 who does CSGO content reach out to me, and they put me in touch with their providers, and they said that we don't do those. We don't do manual takedowns of videos. And I went or we don't do automatic takedowns of videos. And I went and looked at it, and it said manual takedown of the video. So I, made a video about that, and he just continually lied. And this guy says he's a fucking lawyer. I went and watched more of his YouTube videos. He was literally aim cheating, looking like Shroud, running out mid with an MP9, killing 3 people with the most insane flicks. Like, he was full of shit. And then I learned from other people that he'd been cheating in other games and so on. And obviously felt no regret about putting that up. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I mean, definitely fuck that guy. And, you see this a lot where it's like, It's strange. They want to be seen as being like good at games that they've clearly never picked up, and therefore they shouldn't. There shouldn't be an expectation to be good, right? There just shouldn't be. But it's like, oh yeah, I play all the games, so I'm going to be amazing at everything, and then they do shit that you know is bullshit, and they just justify it as, oh, it's entertainment, man. That's what it's really all about. And I don't think a lot of fans get this. There's a lot of naive younger people watching YouTube content, and they believe the bullshit, you know. And I think it's really fucking ridiculous that they will come and like just don't bullshit us. Like if we call you out, you know what I mean? We're the fucking OGs. Like we know you're fucking toggling. You know what I mean? Like don't bullshit a bullshitter. Like come the fuck on. You know what I mean? And then like to go after you and to try and take your fucking shit down is just so ridiculous. And like I don't know, dude. I see it a lot with fucking streamers where it's like they, you know, and I guess this ties back into the Phantom Lord thing. You know, he's come back recently, right? And they've got these like real warped perspectives of reality. It makes me wonder if they are just delusional. You know, like maybe you have to have a type of mental illness to succeed. I don't know.
I got a funny. So I used to lie a lot when I was younger. I remember when I first got into esports, I was playing Brood War. I was like 11 or 12, and I would make up a new illness every day for my mom to tell her, like, you know, I can't go to school today. And I would log on to US East on Brood War and you know, hang out with guys like Huck and In Control before everyone was pro players, and like try to get in these scrims and like play with good people. And I literally once, there was a team called Goes, Gifted Ones, and I told everybody that I was the founder of this clan that had died, and it was like a legendary clan. And eventually the original owner of the founder of the clan came back, and you know, I was worried because I had completely lied about this, brought this back, made banners for everybody, you know what I mean? It was like getting the whole organization like all this clout once again. And then, you know, I had a conversation where I was like, listen, I was never part of this. I'm not good enough to be on this team and whatever. And he forgave me for it. And I remember that changed my whole life. Once he forgave me for that, I realized like, people like me for who I am, and I don't need to lie and make up things to just get into being somewhere where I need to be respected. You know, like all these, he was so impressed by the skills I had in branding and bringing reemergence to this clan that it made me feel important, and I didn't have to lie in the first place to get there. I just had to like work a little harder to do my own thing in the future, and that really just changed everything for me. I like stopped lying completely. When I was in primary school, I used to tell people I had like a PS2 when I could never afford it. Like I was poor as fuck when I grew up. You know, like I was like, I grew up in a group home from like until I was like 6 years old, and I lived in a women's shelter until I was 12 years old. I remember there was.
I had no idea, dude.
Yeah, and I remember there was I was in the women's shelter, and I was starting to get to the age of puberty, right? And where like women's opinions of you start to change when they see that you're actually like interested or whatever. And I remember like this girl, Stacy, opened the door, and she was in her lingerie, and she was going to the washroom, and I was going to the third floor to go to my room, and she was like, ah, and she like covered herself up, and I was like, holy fuck, like that was a super awkward moment. And I was like, what does that mean for me, you know? And then we had to move out. And then, you know, my mom did good enough that we could afford a place in Toronto, and we lived that way. But like, you know, like, I guess all that factored into it. But you know, that maybe that's why I wanted to appear as like someone who was bigger than myself. And so I feel like with Frankie, I kind of almost identified with that, but it's just that he never got to the point where he grew out of it, you know, and he's just.
I guarantee you that these motherfuckers that lie to their fan base, treat their fan base just like another numbers, extensions of their bank balance. The ones who just fucking lie habitually and like literally, even when caught in the lie, you can't just fess up. You know, they got to tell more lies to justify the lies they already told. I guarantee none of them had any fucking hardship when they were younger at all. I got some theories about this. These are just my prescribed opinions, but I think if you've ever, because you know, like even like 5 years ago, I'm still rocking fucking holes in my trainers. You know, I got fucking, you know, I can't afford, you know, shoes and shit. And that's when I thought I was doing well in esports. You know, that's when I thought I was like, I turned the fucking corner. I'm living the dream. Before that, it was really bad. And you know, when you have an awareness of that, that's why it's like I'm not looking to fucking. You know, I don't want to rob anybody. I don't want to, you know, because those people might be like I am. You know, you know what I mean, or I was. You know, I don't want to fucking. I don't know what hardship these guys are going through. Like, I got a regular guy who donates crazy fucking money to us, and you know, he says he can afford it, and I keep telling him like, you gotta fucking keep that for yourself because you work hard for that. And he's like, yeah, but I work hard and I work in a factory, and the only thing that helps me get through the fucking job is that, you know, you put out like fucking crazy hours of content, and I can just put on my fucking iPod or phone, and I can just, while I'm on the assembly line, I can listen to you. So, you know, here's $400 fucking or whatever.
Oh my God. Tell me, you must have a fucking ton of experience with this. And I'll let you get back to what you were saying.
No, go for it, bro.
Yeah. So like I had for people who don't know, like streamers get reached out to by a ton of people who are dealing with like depression or anxiety, because Twitch is the perfect place for people who don't feel comfortable going outside because they're afraid to just walk out their door and have to deal with real life. And this gives them the ability to get used to social interaction, the ability to make friends without having to actually, like, you know, because they feel self-conscious about the way they look, or they feel like they can't talk to people. Well, they can control that on Twitch, you know, and they feel good about that, and that helps them get used to things. Man, I've had like a sub who like literally shot himself in the head, and like, I won't name his name, but like he survived that, and one day disappeared from my and just has brain damage, and you know, I haven't even seen him since, but I've heard that he's doing okay. But he disappeared from my stream one day, and then one of my subs came up to me. He's like, dude, where's this guy? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, dude, this guy, you know, he was happy about you streaming because it got him through the day. And one day he like shot himself, and like, you know, being a streamer, it's like you see this all the time where people just, and that's what's like made me appreciate being an entertainer, you know, just making people a little bit happier, because you see stories like that and you think, wow, like sometimes all it takes is just giving people a little bit of enjoyment.
Yeah, I think the problem you've got is, you know, like it's the time, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because I probably get, you know, like 3 to 6 people with like, you know, they want advice. Shit, there was a guy just the other day. I meant to write him an email. He knows who he is. He regularly watches the show. And I just didn't have time to sit down and write what I want to say to him, because he lost a friend to suicide like recently. And I just been so busy with work, and it's like, you know, it's fucking tough, man. Like, you're trying to balance this shit. Like, I say this all the time. Like, please, like, I don't want to be a fucking role model. Don't, like, definitely don't do that to me. I am no, I stand for the shit I stand for, and that should be abundantly clear. Like, but I wouldn't recommend the way I live my life to anybody. I wouldn't recommend it to a goddamn single soul on planet Earth, right? And I don't want to be your role model. You know, if you look up to me and you respect the values I do, great. If you don't, also fine. You know, like, let's not put me on a fucking pedestal. I don't want to be there. But yeah, dude, like, you know, as I've kind of got busier and more successful, like how do I say to a guy, or, you know, a girl or whoever the fuck who reaches out to me, like, you know, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really too busy for this shit. But equally, what if I am too busy for this shit? Like, how do what's the balance? What am I supposed to do? Do I have to like have a vetting process now? And I think as you get bigger and more successful, it must be tough, dude. Because like, I don't know what it would be like to have a fan base of millions and see that percentage number increase to something completely unmanageable. Yeah. And feel, so maybe this is why a lot of popular streamers are like fucking assholes to their audience. I guess having that level of detachment makes it easier to deal with. Because, you know, I'm exactly like you do. That, you know, I get a lot of people, and it'll be like, you know, I got a message on Skype. Ah, shit, this was like 2-3 months ago. And it was like, you had people to Skype, and like as a journalist, you had like people to Skype all the time. Like, oh, I got a story for you. I add you on Skype. So my Skype's just a fucking train wreck, just thousands of contacts. Every day, like birthdays popping up. For people that I've never even had a conversation with. We added each other and we never talked. But I got a message, and it was some dude, and he was like, "Yeah, I messaged you like 3 years ago after like trash talk or something." And you spent 4 hours like on a Skype call talking to me, and I was really depressed, and I was going to check out, and I didn't, and I'm here, and I'm happy, and just thanks for taking the time. And it's like, yeah, that makes you feel good. Like, you're like, wow, I did something, but I can't. What if I can't do that next time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's someone messaged me on Reddit, and it was a guy who made a funny joke in a comment on some random thread, and it was something. It was a joke like, you just went full Jaden Smith on a guy who made some like nonsensical argument or something like that, and he got like 3 gold or something like that, and he heard that I gave him one, and he mentioned that like he had moved out to China, had absolutely no friends, and once he found out that I had given him that gold, he was so happy, but he had no one to tell it to. So he just like, had messaged me back and said that helped him get through the rest of his year. And to think that you're getting to the point where you can't keep up with every piece of fan mail, like, I just saw Dave Chappelle in New York, and he was just talking about how like this transgendered person sent him an email saying, or wrote him a letter saying that they were devastated when he told a transgender joke, and like all this stuff. And he was just saying like, no, I don't really read a lot of those mails because like he's fucking Dave Chappelle, he's not Santa Claus. That's what he said. You can't expect that, and it's just like that's inevitable, right? Once you get to a certain size, you can't keep up with all that mail.
Yeah, it's real tough, man. But I try and walk that line where it's like, and I've always said it. I said, look, if you want me to be real and be there for the audience, and it can be anyone, it could be someone we had a disagreement with, but if you feel like you need to reach out, to me for whatever reason, I'll listen. I've done it before. I've had guys go after me, like on Reddit. Or Twitter or something for years. And then they've messaged me out the blue and like, I feel really bad about what I did. I was depressed. I like totally tunneled in and focused on you. I'm still dealing with some issues. I want to say sorry. But also could I get some advice or whatever? I've had that happen a few times. And I'm like, look, I'll be there, dude. I'll keep it fucking real, but like, you can't crucify me if I say something you don't like, right? Because then I am gonna go sit in the ivory tower because it's safer.
Oh, for sure, man.
It's safer for me, right? Like you can't have it both ways. You can't say, "Oh, be accessible for the fans and speak your mind and keep it real." But if you say something we don't like, we're gonna try and take your job away and take your livelihood away. And
it's so funny. But when you mentioned, like, the only reason I started my YouTube channel is because I grew up in like the last 4 years before I even started mine. I had watched different YouTubers grow from absolutely nobody in like 2009 to like people like Philly D and people like Husky Starcraft. And I just like watched their growth and I thought, I can do this. I saw someone like HD Starcraft, who I thought was a shit commentator who had a great YouTube channel, 500,000 people. I was like, this guy's awful at his job. I could do this easily. So that's why I started my channel. But I remember Philly D, I was watching him since he was doing his laptop with no lighting, no fucking ring light or great webcam in his room, asking for feedback on how he should make his channel better. And I was a dedicated fan to him. And 3 years in, when he started to blow up, I had something critical to say on one of his YouTube videos, and he blocked me on YouTube. And that was one of the most devastating moments of my life, And, sometimes that makes me be a little bit more conscious of what people say to me, because I realize that, like, just as you mentioned, sometimes it's a fan of yours. But the only reason that they're being mean to you is because they're so invested. They're so invested that they feel like they can talk to you like that.
I had something like that. Like, I think about it a lot. I think about it way more than I should. I had this fan. He used to reply on all my YouTube videos. He used to tweet at me. He used to retweet all my stuff. He was called Lord Baelish, right? Was his name.
I remember that guy, yeah.
Yeah, remember that guy? And
that's Sam's alt account.
I've lost all respect for you.
Yeah, soon to be banned from Reddit. And the dude was so funny. It started with just Lord Baelish quotes. You'd get fucking "chaos is a ladder," and I'd be like, "This is fucking funny." Cause I love Littlefinger, But anyway, then when all this Trump stuff started, and I started doing more political podcasts, I think he disagreed with something. I can't even remember what the exact disagreement was, but he said I was being disingenuous about something. And I tried to explain my point of view in a YouTube, in some YouTube comments. And I think I kind of snapped a little bit because I felt like his position was being super unreasonable. It was obvious he was like mega anti-Trump and all that. And understand, I'm not pro-Trump. I'm just pro-reality, you know, just pro-fairness, you know. And he, I just said, like, if you can't handle, because he was doing that thing where it's like, I've supported your work all of this time, and now you've said one thing I disagree with.
Yeah.
And I said, look, if you can't handle that I'm a content creator who maybe disagrees with you on one issue, and that invalidates all of the work I've done, you should probably just fuck off. And I wish I'd never said that, because he did. I've never heard from him since, never seen a comment from him since, never had a tweet from him since. And this is like one guy. I don't know if he was a sub. I don't know if he donated any money. Yeah. But it's that has really fucking stayed with me, because when you've got the guys who are around from the start, when you see them not around anymore, yeah, that does, dude. Like we had a tiny little community on Trash Talk. We used to broadcast to like 300 people, you know, getting fucking wrecked and having people call in, and we had regulars and stuff. And like when you lose a regular, man, like it's rough. I'd do anything to take that back, even though like this guy means nothing to me financially. I've never met the guy. I don't even know his real name. But if I could go back and not have that argument, I totally would.
Yeah, I mean, I have regret. I smoked too much weed in high school. You know, I wish I didn't. But yeah,
we've all made
you move
mistakes.
on, right? Yeah, exactly.
We've all been.
Let's hear about some of yours, Sam.
Yeah. Come on, Sam. Give us a story, mate.
But
you're the only one. You're the only one who can talk about that, the weed shit. Me and Launders are clean.
Yeah, but I'm still in that mistake, man. I can't get it. I'll tell you when I'm on the other side.
It's a greener pasture for you people, anyway. So,
but so look, you know, we're coming up to the 2.5 hour mark. I knew this would be a slightly longer one. I appreciate you coming on, because obviously you did just get off a fucking red-eye flight, so it's amazing how fresh-faced you are, all things considered. So, you know, let's just talk a little bit about sort of what's up next, because you said you want to do, you know, color commentary and everything else, and you know, there are going to be some opportunities out there, but I'm intrigued to see where you think they are and which direction you're going to go in and build, you know, continuing to build up your YouTube content and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think personality isn't my strong suit, even though I'm starting to get to the point where I'm becoming more confident as both like a content creator and commentator and doing live stuff. And I'm like way ahead of the pack in a lot of regards. I think that one thing that's always stayed with me is teaching. And I think that, you know, I went to school I went to U of T to be a philosophy teacher. And that's what I wanted to get into originally. And I've always wanted to follow something like that. So hopefully, you know, in the future, I'm thinking the landscape of esports, if Counter-Strike really does stick around, or there are other games that are just as hard that stick around, that there will be kind of a role for teachers and maybe a school or something like that. And I feel like I would really excel in that position. So I think holding out for something like that. I know there's a couple of people reach out to me with ventures that have to do with that I've been thinking about doing educational content for people who are trying to get into it. But the only difference is that, like, you know, football and basketball don't really change, but Counter-Strike changes every day. Dota changes every day. Like the esport itself, you know, recycles itself, and you don't really know when the next big esports is going to go down, when it almost certainly will. So, you know, in terms of landscape, I'm really worried about what I can do in the future, but I am thinking about things like that for long-term goals. And for now, focusing on casting, giving our duo with my duo with Scrawny a real shot, and selling my YouTube content. So that is a big thing. And then also doing a live show, which we're trying to sell right now.
What's it called?
The live show is called One on One. I don't want to divulge too much because because someone could take it and
Yeah, you got to be careful with those ideas.
You got to be careful with that shit. Yeah, there's no way to protect it. So
okay. So yeah, look. Here's a question for you then. Since this, you know, this can be a peace pipe of sorts to Scrawny as well. Maybe we can be friends after all. You'll just have to accept I'm just a grumpy old bitch sometimes. But yeah, so me and Sam were thinking about doing a CS tournament, right? Like a subscriber tournament.
Okay.
So we randomly pick 40 subscribers, and we do a tournament, and we're going to get a prize pool together. And I'll pay you and Scrawny could do the commentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was gonna reach out to Vince, and we'll pay you.
Okay.
But like me and Sam want to do some commentary, so it'll just be like, you know, funny shit, like me and Sam just doing bong hits while people are playing like absolute fucking
do analysis tests, mate, just bongs all over it.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but like obviously it'll be like super lo-fi production value, but like we want to we want to get like 40 subs, divide them into random teams, like no skill delineation or anything like that. And then we wanted to have commentators commentate the games to give subs the opportunity to maybe have their games commentated on, which they wouldn't get ordinarily. Yeah. So if you guys want to do that, I'll give you the going rate.
Just not too many not too many UK subscribers, because that tournament will fall apart in round 2.
Yeah, maybe folding. We need to mix this team up.
Yeah, like
it's not enough money in this scene.
Yeah, lose pistol. Fuck this noise.
Now, where's that?
Oh shit! But yeah, so like I'll definitely keep you in mind for that. And what have it, provided you can, obviously I'll let you know. It's going to take some planning. Me and Sam are fucking idiots. So, but what event are you going to be doing next?
I think I have a good. I can't. You can't announce this stuff before they love to do their like tweets and so on. But I have. I would hopefully be able to do like the next couple of DreamHacks there in North America. So, because I have a good relationship with DreamHack, and then I think after
I remember that. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, and I have I guess just after these next like 3 months, I'm really hoping to break into the tier 1. That's the goal. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I'm sure if anyone's gonna fucking do it, it'll be you. You've even attracted praise from Thorin, I believe. Didn't he say something on Twitter about you being like?
Yeah, he had like an AMA that said that he thought I could do it. It was like a good event at WSG where I felt like I was, coming into my own. So yeah, I feel like I have a lot of potential.
That's Gfinity. That was one of the. Was that like the first time you've been an analyst or?
No. I was commentating that China event, but
yeah, but didn't we get you on we actually got you on an analysis desk. It was me, Thorin, and you.
Oh yeah, dude, I was so fucking nervous for that shit, dude. Like I prepared so hard. Obviously, remember that? Yeah. But like that event, that Gfinity, I showed myself that like even though I was nervous, if I prepared enough, I could deliver hard. So yeah, thanks for making me do that.
No, I'm looking forward to it, dude. Like I say, to everybody who's been watching the show, Launders is a fucking real G. I've said this before. I think sometimes on broadcasts he maybe comes across like he's going to be a bit buttoned up, but that's not true at all. Like he's the real shit, and very good at what he does. And I'm sure 2017, certainly 2018, will be big years for him, either on the broadcast or his YouTube channel will blow up. If you keep doing those fucking high production videos, me and Sam will give you a job, or rather, I might give you Sam's job. Okay, maybe that. Love you and all that, but maybe
you'll go straight Yahoo ways, mate. You'll be dropping. Yeah, I've run out. Yeah, remember that CS tournament? I gave it all away. It's gone.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks a lot for coming on the show, Launders. Everybody get at him, follow him on Twitter, follow his. What was your YouTube channel?
YouTube.com/CSBoxer.
There it is, Boxer. Oh shit, that's
Boxer.gg. Yeah.
Yeah, Boxer.gg. Sam knows. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you buy a shirt. We're doing a sale right now until the 14th. Store.boxer.gg. All our shit. I want to be a merchandise god. I want to be the supreme of esports. So you want to really support me, buy a shirt, and our shirts are sick.
Yeah. The clothing lines worked out for me and Sam as well. So, although we did notice that all of the triple XL sold out real fast. So just saying, some big
motivation.
Yeah, some big old boys, some like our shit. But anyway, so there you go. Go get some Boxer gear. Just one last thing before I do close the show. There was one of your guys with Boxer in his name.
Uh-huh.
And he used to just fucking wreck me all the time on Twitter. He was a real
okay.
And
so I had to tell him. Okay, so remember I was telling you how like the first time I met you, I was like really worried, and you ended up like I think you made an episode. I don't know if it was Trash Talk or just the Richard Lewis show after that, but you talked about how like you thought I was going to make you swallow my salty brown nut or something like that. So because you thought that I hated you. Yeah, you thought that I hated you, and I thought that you hated me. But that never happened. But yeah, that was Taylor. You told him to jerk off in a sock after he told you something critical. But yeah, we were just talking about you. He does all of our merchandise, and like he's a good guy, and he actually likes you a lot. So I'm blocking.
Yeah, I think I still got to block.
It's all it's under the bridge right now. Like shit changes every month. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you still want that nut.
I'm down, man. I'm drinking fucking Gatorade. Could use a bit of body to it, you know. So there you have it. Well, that's a fine place to end the show. As I said, make sure you support Launders. From us, we're back. Been a bit busy lately, so there was no content for the past 3 or 4 days on the YouTube channel or on Twitch, but me and Sam are going to try and hustle it hard. I did talk to Thorin today. We have a tentative date for the By the Numbers return, which is going to be Monday the 14th.
What if we're not on? What if we're not? I thought it was 100k special, mate. You're giving them the prize without the fucking work.
I reckon we'll hit 100k by now. I reckon we're gonna get.
What, in a week?
I reckon we're gonna get 5k subscribers in a week. Yeah,
easy.
All right, so.
Right after this video gets out,
we better make sure we get Elon Musk as the next guest and Bill Gates. Let's boost those stats.
Yeah. We'll get them in, and what we'll do is we'll get Frankie on PC to get us some bots.
Look at my new bunny hop video.
Yeah. I'll say right now, fuck you, Frankie. And if you want to come on the show to address that, then there we go.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
So anyway, there we go. So if you're watching the VOD, remember to check if you've been unsubscribed because of YouTube fuckery. But to all the people who came in, watched, subscribed, donated, and everything else. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode of The Richard Lewis Show. Until then, take care.